What's up, y'all? This is Mara Juno, and you might know me from World of Warcraft as Illyria Windrunner or the Walking Dead game as Krista, among a few others. And you're listening to the man, the legend, the Scott Clark, and the Gaming Outsider.
Welcome to the Gaming Outsider Podcast. On this week's episode, Jacob, CB, and I have a discussion about video game addiction and a recent lawsuit that got us all kinds of fired up. In news, Tony Hawk Pro Skater looks to be making a comeback with an upcoming announcement. As for new games, I played an indie run-based randomizer called Whisker Squadron Survivor that reminds me an awful lot of Star Fox. Mark got to check out a remaster of Glover from the Nintendo 64, and Rel talks to us about the 1.0 version of Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to the Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com just thegamingoutsider.com. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/the GoCast, and there's a Discord. We got a link in the show notes. This is why I have to read copy, guys. I can't do it from memory.
Shit.
I always mess it up.
Okay, Ron.
Well, if you were good at your job.
It is Tuesday, February 25th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are my good friends, Chris Behrensmeyer.
Sup, everybody?
And Jacob Gunderson. How you doing?
Today on the episode, Jacob Gunderson's part will be played by a shark.
Tiburon.
Oh.
If this is your first time listening to the Gaming Outsider, we are so glad you were here. We talk about games, we talk about the news, we talk about a topic, and this week's topic, you might see a side of CB that everybody else is not used to seeing. He is fired up and ready to go. He is
pissed.
He's angry. So stay tuned for that. But before we get there, we got a lot to cover. Let's talk about first the games that we've been catching up on. CB, let's start with you, sir. What have you been playing?
Oh, dude, I'm still plugging away at Avowed.
Yeah.
I'm loving it more and more. I've made it to a different area.
All right.
I think this is the first time in a while that I've gone full Scott Clark and being like, I'm gonna do everything I can before I move on to the next area.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, I haven't heard. I feel like you were this kind of excited with. Oh my God, what was that Assassin's Creed type game? But it all had about gods and stuff. And it was funny.
Oh, what was originally Gods and Monsters?
It was originally Gods and Monsters, and they named it something dumber.
Yeah, stupid. It's always going to be Gods and Monsters to me.
Yeah, I was always regretted not playing that one, but I keep hearing mixed things about Avad because after last week's episode, you talked so highly about this game, and I got excited and came close to download it just to check it out, even though I got plenty to play right now. And then I keep hearing people saying that the combat is just whatever, or people are complaining about you can't interact with the NPCs and you can't destroy the environment.
You are really determined to get me heated early. It's not my fault. People were expecting Skyrim.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is that I've seen videos on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook where they're like, "Oh, look, I can pickpocket in this game, Skyrim, but I can't in Avowed." And I'm like, "Who cares? Just enjoy the game. It's fun." I think the combat's it's not overly complicated. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
how's the story as you're going through? Is it consistently interesting?
It's getting better. I mean,
Okay.
it is getting better. Like, I'm paying more attention to it. Whereas like in the beginning, I'm like, I just want to explore and kill the things. And yeah, I definitely got a little overpowered, but I mean, when I walk into the next area and I'm just like, oh, look, the first enemies. Oh, these are supposed to be like hard. Blah. I just killed 6 of them.
Don't they put like sculpture enemies to show how difficult they are?
Yeah, they do like 1 skull, 2 skull, 3 skull.
I feel like I haven't seen that in games in a long time. I kind of miss that.
That's what I'm saying. Like this, dude, this game is so you. Like it's not like Witcher 3, like crazy map, so much to do, but there's enough to do, and the exploration is fun and it looks good. So
it does look pretty nice.
So good.
So I should add it to the list, is what you're saying.
It should be next on your list.
Nah, dude. I'm on a tear, but I'll get to mine in just a second. What else you been playing?
Some more Alien, Rogue Incursion.
Mm-hmm.
Still enjoying it. Gun combat still. If somebody would have been able to come early and blah blah blah, been able to
Yeah.
actually play it a little.
Sorry, I had to pick up groceries on Thursday, and I was actually a little late for D&D, but
Way to be a functional adult.
I know it sucks, responsibilities and all that. And I don't have any kids. It doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah, you got no
as
excuse.
as for me, guys, I know I keep saying this week after week, but I am having so much fun with the Final Fantasy games. I finished Final Fantasy 2, which, Final Fantasy 2 in Japan, not the Super Nintendo one that we got here in the States. Got the all the achievements for it. That was a slog a little bit, but did it. Really like that game. I feel like that one gets a lot of hate. I think people mostly played that one like on the PSP or the PlayStation had a collection, the Origins collection, and it was kind of very true to the original. The pixel remaster definitely makes things a little bit easier, and enjoying it. I really like that leveling system. The story was kind of fun. They had like a false ending, and then you fought the true boss instead of like a second form. It was like, oh, here's the ending finale scene, and then somebody walks in and says, "Oh wait, there's an actual real boss that you got to go fight." So I don't know, it was kind of cool.
God, just trying to imagine a thing that like we can do and actually level.
What do you mean?
I mean, do you make it past level 6?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I was well past. Well, Final Fantasy 2 doesn't have numbered levels, which is different from most Final Fantasy games. You kind of level up, like I mentioned last week, the gear that you use and everything. So, um, it is it's a bizarre game, which is interesting because it was only the second one. You know what I mean? It wasn't the second one to us when it came out, but they took some big swings, and it really felt like it was ahead of its
But
time. So.
I do still feel that was the early Final Fantasy games. Like each game was its own independent thing that they were like, we're gonna change up some stuff. We're gonna make it different.
You say that, but they all look very, very similar. Like it's the same graphical style, and the airships look the same, and
Limited to what they could use at the time. So,
yeah,
but what I'm saying is like when you look at like each one of them, like magic works slightly different. Like we've never had another game other than 7 that had materia.
yeah. Each one has a unique system with its mechanics, and it's fun. Kind of, I'm really looking forward to doing the back 4, because they're, from what I've heard, they're going to get progressively better and better and better, and get to wrap it all up with 6. So that's great.
And longer.
Yeah, that too. This one wasn't too bad. I think I got all the achievements, did everything, and got all the achievements in like in 20 hours. It wasn't terrible. When you think like JRPG, you immediately think 40 to 60, right? And these early ones are 20, but I'm okay with that. I'm looking forward to it, and there's some things they've done in the pixel remasters to speed them up a little bit too. So, really tempted to use the XP boosts and gil boosts, but I don't think I'm going to.
Don't cheapen the experience.
Yeah. Also, I've been talking obviously to Brandon Smith quite a bit, just to kind of telling him where I'm at in the games and all this, and he's been on me to get on Final Fantasy Renaissance, which, if you are new to this show, Brandon has rebuilt the original Final Fantasy from the ground up in a project he calls Final Fantasy Renaissance. He adds new characters with new abilities. He fixed the bugs. He adds achievements. He's done a lot of work, and he's constantly updating it. And it's taken me forever to dive into it, but I finally did this week. Thanks to Jacob, by the way. Jacob helped me get it and got it installed on my Steam Deck, because it was some hoops to get it going, and I still have some tweaking to do, because the right and left sides of the screen are just a little bit cut off, to the point that like the cursor, when I'm selecting enemies, I can just see a teeny tiny little bit of it. So like I have to like play this little game. I gotta Kevin's giving me the instructions on how to do it, but I'm just so nervous to mess with that stuff. But so my party, I decided to take Brandon's advice and just use all 4 characters that were not in the original game, just to kind of see what they did. So I've got let's see, a dragoon, but it's called something else. I think it's called like a lancer or something like that. I've got a bard, CB, you'll appreciate that. And I've got what's called a trainer, and I named him Ash. I couldn't help it. And then
you want to be the very best.
Yes.
Best there ever was.
And then the other one is a summoner, which I have no idea what a summoner does yet. But here's the frustrating thing. If you remember playing the original Final Fantasy...
Summons?
Right, but I can't summon anything yet. I haven't learned how to do the skills, and apparently I
So
need
he's
to
just
go
sitting
in
in the
and...
corner.
No, I mean, he can attack, but he just attacks with a staff, you know what I mean? And it doesn't do a ton of damage, so...
Lame.
Also very squishy.
Yes. But I spent the
Magic.
first, hour or so just grinding around the main town just because I don't want to... I just want to make sure I was plenty powerful when I went into the first dungeon. And I'm in the first dungeon now, and it's not a very long dungeon at all. It's basically pick up 4 chests and then go to the boss. It's really all it is. But so anyway, the new character classes are interesting because it's not just a new skin. It's not we just have this new character that looks different when you're walking around. They actually all do different things. So they've got these skills. I haven't played the original Final Fantasy. I played the Pixel Remaster. So one of the things in the menu is skills. Was that there in the original? It wasn't in the remaster.
I don't think so. It's been a hot minute. So
the Lancer or Dragoon.
Did you guys just play this game?
Well, I didn't play the original. I played...
We're talking like the Final Fantasy on NES.
Yeah, like on Nintendo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So anyway, the Lancer / Dragoon his skill is he basically leaves the party for 1 round, and then when he crashes back, he crashes in and does major damage. The Bard has
he uses fly.
Yeah,
essentially.
I think it's called jump in the game. You do. And let's see, the Bard has a relatively he uses a... what do you call that harp thing that they... A lute. Thank you. He's got a lute, and he does a little bit of damage, but he does damage to all of the characters. So you don't even select which enemies you're attacking. He just automatically does a little bit of damage to each of them.
I wonder what other Bard does that.
It's not called Shatter. And then let's see what else. The Trainer has the ability to control an enemy. So you take control over him, which I thought I was going to be able to attack other enemies with that guy. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but as of now, it just kind of turns the enemy around so he's facing the opposite direction. And if he's the last one, then you win the battle. So, and then the Summoner is the one I'm still playing with. I had to dive into the skills and learn how that works. I assume he's going to summon things.
If I remember correctly, can't the Trainer actually keep the enemy too?
I mean, all of these characters are classes are from future Final Fantasy games.
No, I know, but I think when I played Renaissance, I played with the Trainer too.
I don't know yet. I haven't learned that skill yet. I don't know how far you got. Like I said, I'm an hour and a half in. I'm not very far at all. The interesting thing that I had with my party is that how you have to buy magic in that game. You can't. Yeah. You don't just learn spells like you do in other Final Fantasy games. I went to the shop and I could not buy a single spell for any of my characters. I literally went through and tried to buy every single spell for every single character, and I was not able to buy any of them. So I can't buy Cure, I can't buy Flame or any of that. So it's going to be an interesting run.
You're screwed.
Yeah, so I'm stocking up on potions, and we're going to see how it goes.
No, you're already screwed. If you don't have a healer, you're screwed.
I mean, I can throw potions at each other, so we're going to see what happens. Worst case scenario, dude, I can grind it out, right? That's the name of the game, is just grind until you fake it till you make it, right?
He's going to summon you back alive.
Sure, Scott.
We'll see, but it's kind of fun because I'm taking a step backwards and forwards, because graphically I'm going back to the 8-bit era, right? But there's so much more available to me, and it's really interesting because even the score is updated with orchestral stuff in the Pixel Remaster, and I'm going back and hearing the same tunes, but they're almost demade, even though I know they weren't. They were made first, but
chip tune versions.
Yeah, but it's the same tunes, and I've had them in my head for hours and hours and hours from playing those games, and now I'm hearing the 8-bit versions. So it's kind of like hearing. Did you hear that 8-bit version of The Kids Aren't All Right by The Offspring that came out a couple months ago?
Yeah,
that was going all over social media. It's kind of like that, but I've been playing the later version. I don't know. It's fun, so I will report back more on Final Fantasy Renaissance, and hopefully Final Fantasy 3. I've already been looking into that, and that game already looks. I'm loving this, guys. I'm seriously loving it. But that is the games we've been catching up on. What do you guys say we go ahead and jump into the week's news?
Oh.
I cut CB off. That's my favorite part of doing bumpers is I get to cut him off in the middle of a sentence. It's great.
Oh, you just wait.
Shout out to Mark Szymanski, who has been once again killing it on the news cycle. He's got news articles on Infinite Onslaught, which comes to PC on June 25th. It is on Steam next fest. There's the full release will be coming later. Also, System Shock 2 25th anniversary remaster is coming to PC and consoles. No release date as of now, but that will be announced at GDC.
Hi, Kevin.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
And visiting us all the way from Mexico, Kevin.
I don't know if you guys saw this trailer, but Trolls vs. Vikings Reborn has got a Steam Next Fest demo. No release date yet, but it straight up looks like Plants vs. Zombies, just with different characters. The developer actually reached out to me on Twitter and said they hope to check out the demo because they've made a lot of changes to it. Also, a game called The Lonesome Guild. I believe it's a JRPG coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC later this fall. And the coup de grace for me, Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault, has a new trailer. It's coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC later this year. All of those news articles you can find on thegamingoutsider.com if you'd like to see Mark's work and check out all those trailers. But outside of that, other big announcements. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater has a big announcement coming up early this coming month. Among Us is going 3D. Fable is delayed until 2026. And Warner Brothers, today, as of this recording, shut down 3 studios and canceled the Wonder Woman game. Jake, where do you want to start, man?
Oh, my goodness. I don't even know. Warner Brothers shuts down 3 studios.
Oh, why'd you got to steal my thing?
Okay. I'll go with another one. Among Us goes 3D. The new version of the game will be in first person. A demo will be available on Steam Next Fest on February 24th, which is yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Crossplay will be available between Steam and VR platforms, and it's not compatible with the original game. So, isn't there already a game that looks like Among Us? Right. So
there's
now is Among Us the knockoff? Is Among Us going to be the knockoff of the knockoff?
I don't know. This feels a little. Maybe it's just because I don't have my finger on the pulse of Among Us, but this feels a little too late.
This is a little too late.
It's a lot late.
Like it looks sharp. I'd give it a whirl, but
you give it a whirl. You can already play it.
Yeah, I mean, the fun of that game is the game itself, not necessarily playing it in 3D. Although I don't know.
No. In 3D in VR, you can already play it. Somebody already made the game.
Oh, unlike not with permission kind of thing.
Well, it's just like Roblox, where people make games inside Roblox.
Gotcha. Yeah.
They did it in VR already, and people have been playing it.
I just think it'd be interesting, because with Among Us, you've got the overhead view, right, where you're seeing a pretty wide area, but I feel like your scope of vision is going to be a little bit narrower if you're in first person, right? You're not going to see somebody coming up behind you. Somebody could backstab you. You don't know. I don't know. You don't know who's around as much. It's a fun idea.
It'll definitely increase the difficulty.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of games already out there that's like this. And I don't know. And again, it's a little too late for Among Us to try to jump into this because, again, the market's already saturated with games like this. So what is Among Us going to bring to the table now that's going to be different than the other games have already brought us?
I mean, I don't think anything from the trailer gave any indication that there's anything new. It's still Among Us, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's just a different perspective. So
okay, the thing that makes me still mad about this is the fact that Werewolf was never adapted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like we could have been playing Werewolf all along, but Among Us, no, we're going to do it in space.
Well, it was very popular with the kids. My students, when I was teaching 4th grade, were huge on this game. I even played it with them at lunch during COVID. So
we used to have a big group playing Werewolf every single week.
Oh yeah,
for years.
Yeah. All right, CB, talk to us about Warner Brothers.
I'm gonna crap on some people. Warner Brothers. Last week we talked about, hey, if only they would be smart and make some good business decisions. Well, I guess they don't know how to do that. Warner Brothers shut down 3 studios and canceled the Wonder Woman game. Wonder Woman game that was already like rolling into problems.
Mm-hmm. Well, they had a new director. They rebooted it.
Yeah, well, that and of all the recent superhero games, like they've all had issues. I mean, like Guardians of the Galaxy was the last like really, really good one. I mean, even Spider-Man 2 was kind of like, it's okay.
I feel like we're in the minority of people that didn't love Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 1 was just so good.
Yeah, I hear you. So what studios were closed?
Well, first off, of course, your favorite boy, Jason Schreier, is the one who broke the news.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, because Jason Schreier seems to be like the guy that breaks the news on all these things.
I mean, he's like one of the only people actually doing investigative journalism. And
I know. Well, that's because we don't have access and funds to go do these kind of things. But the 3 studios they closed, Player First Games, which did Multiversus, Warner Brother Games San Diego, which did like their free-to-play games. So, oh well, no big loss there. Other than some people lost some jobs. But the thing that's pissing me off the most is Monolith Productions, the people that made Shadow of Mordor. So now we have one of the greatest game things, the Nemesis engine, that is permanently going to be shelved.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're not going to... So that was supposed to be in the Wonder Woman game, right? And then they changed that and said, well, no, the Wonder Woman game is going to be just like a straight action game. But now that's not going to exist anymore. So yeah, Nemesis system is just done. Like, can you still hold a copyright or is that the right word? Like the rights to a mechanic?
It's the copyright to a mechanic. I mean,
Ask Pokemon.
Yeah. Ask Pal World and Pokemon.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, dudes, you have
my dudes.
Like, I know, just you could slap that in so many different games, and it's just a license to print money.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved an Arkham game with the Nemesis system.
Oh my gosh, especially like if you did Arkham Origins properly, you could have had the beginning of like all these supervillains and made it like the Nemesis engine and just had a blast with it, where it's like Batman figuring out how to be Batman while all these supervillains are figuring out how they do their job. Oh, Wonder Woman, another property you could have done something with. Oh no. But we're Warner Brothers. We don't know how to manage our own stuff, let alone a studio.
That one, yeah, Monolith hurts because the Shadow of Mordor was... I played through that game twice, man. It was so good. And I'm not even like deep into the Lord of the Rings lore like you are. Like, you know, all the other books and that kind of thing.
First age, the second age.
None of that.
Age.
Nobody cares, CB.
But I was into that game. It was just so much fun sneaking around. It felt like the Assassin's Creed game I had been wanting for a while when that came out. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing, is like, you imagine the Nemesis engine in an Assassin's Creed game?
I don't know if that makes sense. If you're an assassin, isn't your job to kill? They're not going to come back.
But there's ways to do it. Like, say you screwed up, or like you could do that with like.
So wannabe Assassin's Creed?
Well, I'm saying
I'm a terrible assassin.
A lot of the Nemesis system was based on losing. Yeah, so you lose to a normal enemy, and they become a captain. Okay, well then you lose to the captain, and they move up even further. So yeah, if you failed to assassinate them and they killed you, they became stronger, and it became harder to kill them next time. It would have been easy.
I mean, you could put it in like anything. You could put it in Dynasty Warriors is something that would be ripe for a Nemesis engine.
It would be because they're always coming back.
Yeah. There's so many things, but they're like, no, it's now gonna sit in a box on a shelf and do nothing for eternity until somebody tries to copyright it. And then Warner Brothers is like, hey, we own the rights to that. We're gonna sue you because we can't make a game to save our lives.
Actually, we own that. Thank you.
Oh God.
Well, and then the other elephant in the room here is that while this sucks that we're losing more games from Monolith, these people have lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Which is just, I feel like it's every other week we're hearing more and more stories about this in an industry that is absolutely booming.
See, okay, I'm worried for some of them. Other ones, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Jason
with
Schreier. Oh,
I'm not worried about Jason Schreier. I'm more excited over like sometimes when these studios close down and you know that there's some utterly awesome talent in those studios. I'm more excited by what could be. And like you now like are like there's always going to be those people that are on the fence like should I stay or should I go? Like
That'd make a good song.
I know. But they're like I know how to do this. I know how to program a game. I could start my own studio. So
Yeah, but then you're
sometimes,
starting from the bottom and you got to be indie and work your way back up, which
I wonder what some of the best selling stuff right now
Yeah.
is.
well, not only that, from the developers of such and such game, this game,
I mean,
instant credibility.
you have 1 to 5 man teams out there turning out games that are selling like gangbusters. Stardew Valley, one guy. So
Balatro.
yeah, Balatro,
One
one
guy.
guy. So like I'm excited for what may come from it. Yes, it's gonna suck for a lot of these people, but again, it's a business that is booming. Unfortunately, like yes, there's so many studios doing layoffs, but a lot of these people are gonna land on their feet somewhere.
I hope so.
So it's I'm more excited by like what could be coming out of this kind of thing.
Well, and also, not to keep piling on bad news, we're not going to get a Wonder Woman game. That would have been cool.
Mm.
Even as a straight action game without the Nemesis system, I still would have wanted to see what that was.
I still have such a bad taste in my mouth from Wonder Woman 84 that I'm like, nah, just put it to bed, bro.
I mean, the character's still pretty cool.
The character's cool, but Wonder Woman 84 like ruined Wonder Woman for me for a while.
Yeah.
So until like something can redeem that, which the game could have, I'm more worried about like this was supposed to be like the next big, like one of the next big video games for like superheroes, and like I'm more worried about the IPs because like Warner Brothers is like having a really bad track record right now.
Well,
Even
they
though they have
mentioned
the
that like the
IPs.
next DC games aren't going to be coming for like another couple years at least when those are going to
Yeah.
be starting. So,
Well, I mean, the Wonder Woman game wasn't coming for a couple of years,
right.
and like already that one just got canned.
Mhm.
So I'm like, ooh, that's
But
not
on
good.
top of it, but on top of it, like, okay, so you've got the next, the next DC titles coming out. What are they going to be? Because I don't want to play as Aquaman.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean,
but
I'm not a comic book guy, and I know there's a lot of characters in DC that you could go to.
you could, but the Kill the Justice League was a turd.
I haven't played it, so I can't.
And that had all the tentpole characters.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
they need to make a Destroy All Human game, but from like a DC villain standpoint.
well, and
now you're talking.
Right.
see, you know what? Go apply to Warner Brothers because clearly you can do a better job than they can.
They would just fire me. Oh,
not like with the humor associated with Destroy All Humans. I don't want it to be quirky and goofy, but I want that style. Like that would, man.
It's all up here.
Let me play as the villains. That'd be interesting.
That was the thought behind Kill the Justice League, but they screwed that up. But again, like now we have all these IPs on a company that clearly cannot make a game.
Well, keep in mind, Warner Brothers not making the games; they are the publisher, right?
Yeah,
They're
but they
they're
still get this. They still get the final say on some of this stuff.
well, that's the point, yeah. And this was their final say. This is the nail in the coffin. But it's not Warner Brothers making the games; they are a publisher.
What was Monolith's last game?
That's a great question, Jacob. If Zach were here, he would be telling us.
Oh
but,
yeah, Zach would.
he's an encyclopedic brain of knowledge. That's why I love having him on the show. Speaking of, I should mention he's obviously not here. He is as we speak.
He's not here.
He's in the process of moving. That's he was not able to be here, and Alyssa's not here as well. She had to do some family things, so both of them were a little bit busy. So
Their last game was Shadow of War.
oh
Yeah,
man,
that's what I'm saying.
that's what I kind of thought it was.
2017, but
8 years ago.
but they've been working on this Wonder Woman project, which has now been stamped out.
It's just a bummer.
It is. I really hope though that Warner Brother just like, you know what, we can't handle this. Let somebody else do it.
I hope they do, because I want to see somebody else run with that Nemesis system and see what they can do with it. Come up with some ideas that we're not even thinking of. Just because that was so refreshing. That was a time where, it's hard to come up with new ideas or new exciting gameplay mechanics, and that was something that stood out. When's the last time we had something outside of? I mean, the last one was probably like Battle Royale, right? When Battle Royale just kind of took off, and that was a new thing. Now some of us are kind of tired of it, but when's the last new thing? That
Among Us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I'm actually Balatro. To be fair,
Yeah.
that's been that is like one of the last times I've seen a game have legitimate commercials on TV.
Yeah.
So
It's on Game Pass now, by the way.
I know, but I bought it, so I don't care.
I know. I just thought it was kind of cool. If you have not played it and you have Game Pass, you don't have an excuse to give it a shot now.
I really wish though
you have plenty of excuses
that some of these big companies would be a little more open and receptive to letting other people make games, even though you hold the license. I mean, like
You should get paid.
any Star Wars game, is going to be like deeply controlled by Disney. By the way, did you read that news today?
Kathleen Kennedy
is retiring.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, well,
I'm excited for that.
I got a story I want to talk about, even though I don't really have any affinity for this series, but I thought this was interesting news. So there's rumor that's now been semi-confirmed about another Tony Hawk Pro Skater game coming out. So the rumor started in, of all places, Black Ops 6. There was a new update for a map called The Grind, which, hey, get it? The Grind. So in this map, there's a banner with the Tony Hawk Pro Skater logo and the date 3/4/25, March 4th, 2025. And the official site for Tony Hawk Pro Skater has a countdown that ends on the same date. So, people are speculating that, March 4th, 3/4, that means they're going to be remaking Tony Hawk 3 and 4 since they have remade 1 and 2, right? So that seems like that would add up. And lo and behold, I think the news was today that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 has been rated on Xbox in Singapore. Not just Singapore, but that seems pretty likely. I'm sorry, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch.
That still feels like a little early shot on that one. Like sometimes I feel some of these countries, due to like bureaucratic loopholes, they have to like preeminently do that so they could be like, we need to secure the website, so we have to put a rating out there for something. More or less proves
that it exists.
More than likely, it's gonna be 3 and 4 because I really can't see them doing a new like Tony Hawk 6.
I think that's what a lot of people want, though. I think what people want even more than 3 and 4, again, no connection to the series at all, but a lot of people I've been seeing online have been saying they want the Underground games more than 3 and 4.
But Underground came after 3, so
right, yeah. So wait another 6-7 years.
The problem is, So the 1 and 2 remake was really, really good. And to me, I'm like, okay, do I really need a 3 and 4? I would rather have something else like Project 8 or uh the American Underground ones. I, I would actually, you can just drop the Tony Hawk name, just do Pro Skater.
Why would you drop the Tony Hawk name?
They did for Tiger Woods.
Yeah, Tony Hawk
yeah.
doesn't have a whole lot of
I know.
goofy stuff going on that people don't want to be associated with.
Okay, I want you to go up to your kids tomorrow and be like, "Do you know who Tony Hawk is?"
Yeah, they probably don't know who Tony Hawk is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna test it tomorrow. I'm gonna report back.
yeah. I that's what I'm saying. I want you to go up to and just just random kids throughout the day. Be like,
I mean, he was a household name when we were kids, right? Like, even
you
if
know
you
who
weren't
Tony
into
Hawk's?
it.
And that's why I was like, you were like, I don't really have any connection to this. I was like, Scott, we are basically the same age.
Mhm.
Like Tony Hawk was an American staple when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So don't you tell me you don't have any skin in the game. You shut your mouth.
No. I just mean, like, I didn't love the games. I wasn't good at them. I never got them. I wasn't able to. I didn't go crazy about them like everybody else did. I
still remember watching the X Games when Tony hit the 900.
Yeah.
So yeah. Two of my 3 kids have their own boards. I still have my board.
So would you guys rather have 3 and 4 remake, or would you rather have a 6?
I would rather have something new and fresh with new maps. Like, that's the problem, is it's a remake of 3 and 4, so we're getting old maps just spit polished. I'd rather have a bunch of new things in the style. Like, give me the controls and the mechanics of 3 and 4, but all new locations.
Okay.
So,
I mean, they could also add new maps in it too. It could be a thing. Like, we're going to remake 3 and 4, but we're going to put some new maps in there as well.
I hope they were going to do that with 1 and 2, but that never happened.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you can throw the 3 and 4 maps in, but I want those to be like add-on content.
Yeah.
I want
totally.
all new maps, and then the DLC is the 3 and 4 maps.
Oh, okay. That won't happen. They're not going to do that. They're not going to put the original game behind a DLC paywall.
Nuketown for Call of Duty. They've done it before.
Yeah, they have.
One map, not all of the maps.
People paid for one map.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? The original Modern Warfare 3 had MW2 maps in it that you could pay for on a DLC. Yeah. It was 4 maps, and people bought the hell out of that.
Oh, yeah. Because at that point in time, you're selling a new product, but then
it's Activision, so that tracks.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. But then you're doing your DLC is for the people who want that nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
Give me the nostalgia.
Yes. Just bathe me in it.
Right. Anyway, I don't want to linger too much on it because, like I said, I like Tony Hawk as a person. Like, I just think he's really interesting.
Dude,
he seems like a cool guy. But I'm not gonna play. I played the 1 and 2. I think you got it on Xbox CD, and I played around with it.
If it's
and
3 and 4, I'm still gonna buy it.
Yeah.
It just better have all the music.
That's gonna be the question. Did 1 and 2 have all the music?
It had. I think it had the majority of it. But then the problem is, like, you couldn't have BAM.
Yeah. All right, well, that is the news. Let's. You know what? Fable going into 2026 was a surprise.
No, it wasn't.
That was a surprise to me.
Absolutely not.
Woo-hoo.
I'm going to say this going forward. When it comes to games getting delayed anymore, I don't care.
I got plenty to play.
Well, it's not so much that. I almost expect, like, if you're going to announce a game, unless it's coming out in 2 weeks, I expect it to get delayed at least once.
Yeah. It's just what happens.
Well, it's not what happens. It feels like they're to appease shareholders. It feels like they're just throwing arbitrary dates out there. And then it's like, okay, we're going to drum up some cash through stock sales, whatever, because people are excited the fact that we're getting closer to this date. and we missed the target window. So we're just going to move it back to next year and throw more money at us, please.
Gotcha. I forgot to mention a comment from Sean Coates. He says, I believe it'll be an underground remake. Combining 3 and 4 wouldn't really work because 4 changed the formula significantly. I don't know what that means.
He's not wrong. I mean, there was a lot of functional changes for controller work from 3 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were to do that, I mean, the bigger jump was from 4 to 5.
Well, 5 was like a plastic thing you stood on, wasn't it? Like
you could get that. That was like Tony Hawk Ride, but I mean, there was enough functional change for 3 to 4. So if you had them both on the same disc, like you're playing 3 and then you switch to 4, and you're like, ooh, kickflip's a different button now.
Gotcha. I mean, you could easily remedy that. Just swap to a different control style.
Yeah, just allow for button mapping.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, well, that's the news. Let's go ahead now and jump into the new games that we've been playing. All right, we got quite a list of new games coming out this week on the horizon. One that I know Jake is excited about, Monster Hunter Wilds, comes out on February 28th. PGA Tour 2K25, February 28th. Omega 6, The Triangle Stars on the 28th. March 4th, we've got 2 Point Museum. Carbon San Diego making a comeback. Everhood, I don't know, somewhere in the world. Everhood 2, War Robots Frontiers, and Knights in Tight Spaces, all on March 4th. And then on March 5th, we've got Morkel Ragast's Rage. We've got Split Fiction. We got remasters of Suikoden 1 and 2 HD, Gate Rune, and Dunan Unification Wars. That's on March 6th. Frag Punk on March 6th. I can't believe that game is still happening. I thought that would have been dead. And Hordes of Hunger on March 6th. Slime Heroes on March 6th. Mainframes. Sorry We're Closed. Eldrador Creature Shadowfall, and Memory Lost, all on March 6th as well. Got quite a list this week. Jake, I don't even have to ask. What game are you
PGA Tour 2K25.
Shut up. No, you're not.
Nope, Monster Hunter Wilds.
Monster Hunter Wilds.
One way or another, I'm going to play this game.
One way. All right, CB.
I'm going to be playing a game that's not on this list.
Really? What did I miss?
Farm Simulator VR.
Oh. Why do you want to play Farm Simulator in VR? What about that franchise makes you want to be in a VR helmet for it?
It's going to be first off, there is some power wash stuff in there. So,
in the farms, you can power wash farm tractor. Oh my god!
And you can already play Farm Simulator in first person. You just can't push all the buttons and stuff.
I'm curious because Jake, you and I have both played Farm Simulator games.
Yeah.
Some of them can be quite complex. So I'm curious to see the in-depth, how in-depth they go with the VR.
I want to be able to pull all the buttons and knobs.
Just sit there and just open the thing behind you and just be like, "Yep, I'm harvesting some corn."
Yep.
I don't know. I watched the trailer and I'm like, this actually looks pretty cool. And Scott, you know me, I really love VR. So
yeah.
Just when they
put a platformer in VR, you're gonna play it.
Yeah. Wrong. But the fact that something like this theoretically complex is going into VR on a MetaQuest, I'm curious to see how well it functions, how well it does, how big the environment is going to be for it, because some of the farming simulator games are massive.
They are pretty big.
So I'm curious to see is it going to do the typical if you turn your head really fast, you're staring at a blank slate behind you because you're waiting for it to load.
Oh, I see.
So
you just want to see if you can break the game.
Well, yeah. So that, and honestly, I may be picking up PGA Tour 2K25.
Really?
Dude, you could ask Nate. He and I used to play so much Tiger Woods golf.
I don't think I ever played Tiger Woods.
I know, but it's been a while since I've played a decent golf game.
I mean, for me, golf games were always like Hot Shots or Mario Golf or like more arcadey ones.
Our buddy Shane, Nate,
Mhm.
myself, when we all worked at GameWorks, we would literally get off work, go home, and play like 18 to 36 holes.
Good Lord.
So it can be a lot of fun with your friends.
For me, Split Fiction. I am stoked for Split Fiction. I played It Takes Two with Zach all the way through. We did that in like a couple weekends or something, and it was a ton of fun. So and this one, just the more I see in the second trailer released, and it just keeps looking more and more interesting. I cannot wait to play this. I love the whole idea of having to play with somebody else. So yeah, that's gonna be my pick. I'm surprised I was the only one that picked that one, but I'm not surprised because Jake is clearly gonna go Monster Hunter. That's just
I'm also gonna guess Zach is gonna be playing Suikoden 1 and 2.
I don't know.
I'm willing to bet.
Yeah.
With this list, I have no idea where Alyssa would go with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. She's probably yeah. I think no, she finished Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, so she is reviewing another game for us as well, though. So she'll be talking about that next week.
I know, but if she was to pick something on here, so. But in the meantime, Scott, you've been playing Whiskey Squadron Survivor.
Whisker Squadron.
Sorry, brain went slightly. Well, every time I think of any type of I see Squadron, I'm just like Whiskey, Alpha, Tango. So, Whisker Squadron Survivor. So, Scott, tell me what's it like to play a Shma Forward?
Shma Forward?
Oh, no.
Oh, man. So for those that don't know what Chris is talking about, we did an episode where we talked about game genres, and we decided instead of calling them shmups, or no, shmups are the ones that go vertical, and so the ones that go horizontal were going to be called shmacross, or Zaxxon was a schmangle.
Yep.
So now I have a Shma Forward. So actually, it's funny you say that. This game, by looking at the trailer, gave me a whole lot of Star Fox vibes. This just like straight up, it's like roguelike Star Fox, which is clearly what they're going for. And I'm here for it. It's a ton of fun.
When I saw the ship and the way it was kind of moving, it actually kind of gave me Captain Skyhawk vibes.
Oh, okay, yeah, I could see that.
So this is going even further back.
This is an indie developer called Flipfly that is actually in Wisconsin. They're just north of us, up not far from Green Bay. And I hadn't even really been paying close attention to this game until my buddy Jeff over at Indie Nation spoke very highly of it. So I decided to pick it up and check it out. So the rogue nature of this. Well, first off, you know what? I won't even talk about the story because I'm so perplexed by the story. First off, all the characters are
cats,
anthropomorphic cats, and
as long as they're not James Corden cats, I'm okay.
Right. Yes. So the game opens up with just two. I've only seen two characters so far. I've only done a few runs, and basically, this one character shows up for a job interview. She's here for a job interview, and the one that with the headset and kind of manning everything, she's like, "All right, time to jump in your ship." And this girl's like, "What? I thought I was here for a job interview." "Oh yeah, this is your interview," and that's the training. That's how you learn how to maneuver the ship and do all the attacks and rolls and all this kind of stuff. And then she just keeps going. So you find out that there is a swarm of AI driven robots, and you're just basically taking out these swarms of robots, which lead to bosses and all that jazz. I don't know how else the story goes, but the cutscenes are very Japanese animation. And I mean that lovingly. It's really
I like the animation.
It looks really cool. Then you get to the gameplay, and it's a run-based randomizer. You are going Star Fox style from A to B, getting to the end, fighting a boss, defeating the boss. It does the a Slay the Spire style map, where you get to choose your path.
Yep.
You can either recharge your shield, or you can fight some tougher enemies with some kind of handicap or hindrance, but it gives you double the experience. Those kind of situations. And but the really interesting thing is just how different each run feels, because the upgrades that they give you, once you reach, it's almost like Vampire Survivors, where you collect these gems, you get these scrap pieces from the robots that you destroy, and then once you get to a certain level, you get 3 options of upgrades that you get, and they're not generic like you would expect. Like, oh, I'm just going to increase the damage
like guns
output
by 10%.
Right. It's not like that. It's all like interesting things like, oh, if you do a tight boost, it recharges your energy. And then what I mean by a tight boost is there are these little narrow gaps in the map that you need to fly through, and if you boost through that, it recharges your energy because your weapons and your shield and all that are all tied to just one energy thing. So like you can hold down the fire button, but it eventually will run out, and you have to release it for like a second or two for it to recharge. But you obviously want to keep that going as much as possible for reasons I'll get into in just a second. So that's just one example. Like, oh, you do a tight boost through here and it recharges your energy. Or you have this mechanic where you can, do a barrel roll. And if you do a barrel roll in this game, it puts a shield around you. And one of the things you can get is that when you do that, it actually deflects the shots that you absorb back to the enemy that shot them.
So Ikaruga style.
Sure. There are, these you can get a little shmup style guy next to you that fires missiles as well. You know what I mean? So you've got like extra. There's so many different things going on. So like each time you play it, you're playing it in a different way, which is really, really interesting. Like there was one run where I got a bonus if I kept my combo going. So like, you kill an enemy, you kill another one within a certain number of time, then it keeps that combo going. I had like a 50 combo or something, and if you get to a certain level, it increases the damage of your weapons, and so you're wanting to keep that going. So that particular run, I was focusing all of my upgrades on things that I took advantage of with my combos. You know what I mean? Like you basically start doing a build based on what available upgrades you get on that particular run.
So basically, like Dead Cells or Vampire Survivors, where you start a run, but because you are limited to this or this, you may not be able to get back to the same style of run that you had the last time.
Exactly. At least not for a while.
Which I feel for like this style of game is the far superior model. Whereas like if I started with the exact same thing, it's just a rinse and repeat.
Exactly.
So with games that do like this, where it's like, okay, we're gonna force you to learn multiple play styles, I feel has more legs to it as a game than just. So you're selling me on this, man. Like I want to play this.
It's pretty fun, man. I'm playing it on Steam Deck. It is also available on PS5. I think it's a $20 game, but it's on sale. I don't know if it will be by the time you hear this, but it was on sale for like 25% off or 20%. Flipfly is the developer.
Why no Xbox?
I don't know. I would pick it up again if it were on Xbox. Just saying.
I'm just telling them. I'm like if you listen to this, folks, like Xbox.
Yeah. Really enjoying it. And they do the Star Fox thing where one of the upgrades you can get is to lock onto multiple enemies. You know how you did that in Star Fox 64 and then release it, and it does all that. That obviously keeps your bonus going better. There's a lot of moving parts to this that I wasn't expecting. I was kind of just expecting Star Fox with some extra damage increase or extra shields or extra speed boosts, whatever. And they've done some really clever ways to make it interesting and make each run feel unique. That's why I liked Children of Morta so much, is it actually forced you to go out of your comfort zone and learn to play a different gameplay style. And that's exactly what this game is doing. Really, really enjoying it. I'm going to keep playing it.
Yeah. And honestly, with them being so close up in Madison, I feel like we should almost just go knock on their door and be like, hey guys, let's talk.
A little further north than Madison. It's closer to Green Bay. I think it's just west of Green Bay.
That's fine.
Check that out. Again, it is called Whisker Squadron Survivor. $20, independent developer, and I've been following them on Twitter and seeing what they're posting. They are very passionate about this. And Jeff, who I talked about this on Indie Nation, he has been playing it in early access. It's been early access, so it's now officially in 1.0 release. And and he already has like a whole bunch of the upgrades and everything. So he actually now that it's 1.0, he completed it, and he had a comment on Twitter that he said he's not seen an early access game listen to its fans on their Discord as much as this developer has. Like they've made straight up changes that people have suggested, in the quote unquote, I don't want to call it a beta test, but the early access version. So kudos to them, and I wish them all the best. The one thing I would say that I wish were a little bit different, and maybe it's just because I'm early on, I'm so used to games like this where with the permanent upgrades, because this game does have permanent upgrades. Once you earn enough this and that, you can buy things. It feels very slow. It feels like I'm used to like those first couple runs, them juicing you up with at least a couple upgrades to make you feel like you're something. It took me like 3 or 4 runs, and maybe it's just because I'm terrible at the game. It took me 3 or 4 runs to actually afford a single permanent upgrade. And then that permanent upgrade felt very minor. Maybe it just felt very minor because it was,
Well, I mean,
my damage went up per 1% or something like that. Yeah, Skyforce also went up very small.
It was very, very slow in the beginning, and then
but you would still get even one upgrade after your first run.
In the very, very beginning.
Yeah, this one very, very beginning, I did not get a single one.
I'm saying in Skyforce in the very, very beginning, like it took me 2 runs before I got my first upgrade.
Well, maybe you should get good.
Dude, I smoked you on that game for so long.
And then we did that one extra life event, and I played it all day.
Yeah, and that that's what it took for you to finally get enough points to like just ink past me.
Yeah. So please, guys, check this game out. It's really cool. It scratches that Star Fox itch and that run-based randomizer, roguelike. It's a really clever little game, and I'm very, very happy with it. All right, before we move on to our topic, I got a couple of the reviews to share with you guys. I talked to Mark and Rel, and they're going to do those reviews for you right now. Mark Szymanski, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine and dandy, Scott. I'm hoping that it warms up a little bit more, but so far, so good.
I hear you. Actually, I should refer to you as news editor, Mark Szymanski.
Get out of here.
He has been killing it with the news articles, so pay attention to the GamingOutsiders.com. If you see anything news related, Mark is behind it. So do us a favor, check out the GamingOutsiders.com and see all the stuff that he's been posting on there. We're trying to make some headway, but we're not here to talk about news. We're here to talk about a new game that you've been playing. Okay. It's actually an old N64 game that is getting a remaster, Glover. You're playing this on Switch. It's also available on Xbox and PlayStation, and comes from developer Q-Byte Interactive. And they're the ones that provided us with a copy. So I got to admit, Mark, I never played this one back in the N64 days, and I played a lot of N64 games. It looks like a platformer where you play as a glove, but I feel like there's a little bit more
exactly
of a gameplay than that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a platformer, and you are a glove. So a wizard is messing around in his wizard room, and something happens. The gloves fall off. One of them falls into a potion that makes him turn evil, and then Glover, you fall out the window and have to find your way to defeat the evil glove and restore balance and sanity back to the world.
Okay, so how does a gameplay work? Because I feel like there's a little bit more going on than simply like a Mario 64 type, like get to the star type of thing.
No, it's definitely a Mario 64 get to the star type.
It is, okay, all right.
Right down to the Lakitu style camera.
Get out, really?
Oh yeah. It's obviously it's not Lakitu. It's not some dude hanging out on a cloud with a camera, but you control it the exact same way.
Okay. So, but I mean, mechanics wise, I mean, is there more to do than just jumping from platform to platform? I was talking to Jacob about it, and he told me there's like these, goofy powers, like where you change into different substances and things.
Yep. That's all true. And then also you carry a ball around with you. You can dribble it, you can bounce with it, you can turn it into a bowling ball, you can turn it into a gem, you can turn it into a tiny little metal ball. And they each have different benefits for switching it in certain situations. Obviously, like the bowling ball, you can knock things over with it.
Sure.
But the primary tool that you'll be using is the bouncy version of the ball. Okay. And not only does that get you through to defeat enemies and get you across the platforms, it also is what you use to complete the level. So if you lose the ball, you can't finish the level. You have to go back and get it.
Now, do you have any nostalgia for this game? Did you play it originally?
So I really had a lot of nostalgia. So my son was very little when the N64 was coming to the end of its lifetime, and Glover was put on clearance at the Best Buy that I worked at. So I bought it for $5.
Oh, nice. You still have it?
No. Oh, you know what? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's somewhere in the basement somewhere.
All right.
But anyway, so he would play it because it looked like a fun little game, but it was a platformer, and some of the parts were a little difficult. So he'd have me do it, and what turned out to be was me playing while he watched, and it was just special time for me and my little boy at the time.
Very
So
cool.
definite nostalgia.
So how does that translate to a remaster or remake or whatever? I assume remaster.
It got a graphical uplift. Otherwise, it's the exact same game.
Okay. But I mean, a Switch doesn't have the same controller as an N64. So, I mean, I assume joystick, buttons.
Yeah. But thankfully, there's still the two Joy-Cons. So one controls the camera, the other controls Glover. And then the buttons you use are pretty common for how you would jump and duck or sprint, things like that. Obviously, it's kind of a trick to the hands to try to move the camera around and do some of the movements at the same time. But you get accustomed to it, except for when you're backed into a corner. And if you're backed into a corner, the camera stops if it hits like a mountainside or something like that, instead of going through it and giving you that benefit of a better angle. So sometimes the camera is not friendly and makes it very difficult to play, especially when the camera's stuck and you actually have to walk blind basically to get out of the corner, not knowing if there's an enemy or a cliff behind you where the camera can't show. So there was definite frustration there, just like it did the first time I played it back in the 90s.
Well, hey, I mean, sometimes that's not a bad thing. You want to experience it the way you did. But do you think that like a newer audience that's never played this is going to find some enjoyment in this, or is this just a nostalgia grab?
Nostalgia for sure. If you are a big fan of platformers, I say go for it. It has its charm. But otherwise, if you don't like platforming games, like I would not recommend this to Alyssa. 100% no.
Yeah.
But like I said, nostalgia platform. If those boxes get checked for you, check it out. You probably have a good time with it.
All right, it's not bad. It's only
can.
$19.99 on PlayStation, Xbox, or Switch. So I'm intrigued. It's one that I recognize the box art. Like it's one of those that like I can see the box art in my brain, but I've never actually picked it up. It just seems so quirky, but not in the way that I wanted to go out and play it when I was younger. But I'm intrigued now, just because it's like an empty spot in my game. So, well, Mark, thank you so much for checking that one out. I hope you enjoyed it. That little trip down.
It was fine. Yeah, it was fine. The nostalgia was great. The game itself, it was fine.
All right, cool, man. Well, keep up the great work, and we'll catch you next time. Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Later, bye. What's up, Rel? How you doing?
Oh, doing well. Just trying to get through the ever-growing backlog of RPGs. I'm up to 5.
Dude, those are rookie numbers. You want to know the backlog I've got right now?
That's just RPGs. That's not counting everything.
Dude. I've got the entire Final Fantasy anthology.
Okay, that's not fair.
7, except for 13, 15, and 16. I'm doing all of them. I've got Chrono Cross. I've got Mario and Luigi, the new one on Switch.
Chrono
I've got
Cross is an interesting decision.
I've never played the original, and I figure I'd rather play a remastered version of it.
Oof.
Look, we could wax philosophical on RPGs all day long, but I want to hear a little bit more about Ender, Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist. Now, to be clear, for those that might be saying this game sounds familiar, Rel got this on early access, and now the full game is released. So you want to come back and tell us more about it. So for those people that don't remember what this game is, can you explain to them what it's all about?
You are little girl. Little girl find robot. Little girl plus robot equals destructive force for evil robots.
All right.
Yep.
Now, the gameplay is, I know you refer to it as Metroidvania. We lovingly on our podcast call it gear gated.
I refuse.
So, but it is that style of game. And we had a little conversation before we started recording where I was watching the trailer and I was like, this looks a lot easier than most games in this genre. But you said it's not super easy. Is it just an art style thing that I'm picking up on?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's easier,
Huh?
but that also could just be, I've been through Hollow Knight. I've been through other really challenging games.
Hmm.
This is certainly not as hard as Hollow Knight. There can be bosses that are, and I do want to point out this is sort of in the vein of Hollow Knight in the sense that, you got your dashes, you got your melee attacks, you got your various abilities. You unlock new abilities that give you movement progression, that unlock new areas, etc., and so on. You gain currency by defeating enemies that you then spend in a shop. You have checkpoint benches. It ticks a lot of the boxes. The major difference is this is more dark gothic robot horror
Wow, that's,
than,
that's a genre I didn't know existed.
I mean, Nier Automata.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Rather than, insane Bugland. And also, it really is not as hard, but also, I was playing on normal mode. This game does have difficulty levels. It has granular difficulty where you can increase, say, the enemy aggression, the enemy damage, enemy HP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can tailor it to your design. And they also, and this is really cool, they have a checkbox for like special challenges where you can just turn on one hit kills. You die in
Oh.
one hit. Get good.
Yeah, I'm out. I don't want that.
Yeah. It doesn't give you anything. The nice thing is if you bump up the difficulty, it increases the amount of currency that you earn from defeating enemies that can then be used to unlock like bonus content, which is, artwork and lore and whatnot, but it's still nice.
Hmm.
So I did go back because this game is actually a sequel to Ender Lilies,
Yes, I
which
remember.
came out however long ago. That game, I went back to it. It felt a little bit more clunky. Ender Magnolia, the movement, the combat, the bosses, everything feels much more polished. The animation feels a little bit better. But at its core, it's still a game about defeating evil robots or monsters and turning them into your allies and using their abilities as your weapons. So
So it's Mega Man.
effectively, yes, it's actually, you know what? It's Gothic Pokemon.
Gothic Pokemon. All right.
Yes, because you little girl do not fight. You do not swing a single fist. Instead, your homunculi, the robots, materialize and swing their weapons or shoot something or generate plasma beams or just whatever. They fight on your behalf.
So when you're talking about like one hit kills or taking damage, is it your character taking damage or is it the homunculi
Yes.
that are taking damage?
No, it's you, the girl. You get hit, you take damage. Similar to Hollow Knight, you have a limited amount of heals. You have to stand still and for like a second for the heal to actually go off, which makes it tense in boss battles, especially if enemy aggression is turned up.
I remember that. I do remember that. So what, now that you're playing the full game as opposed to early access, what, has there been any quality of life improvements?
Quality of life, not as much. It feels like, about the same game, just from the beta that I played.
Mhm.
But I did want to talk about the quality of life because I think that is how this game stands out from the pack besides art style and just fun factor because the game is really fun.
Yeah.
One thing that I especially want to mention, this is something that should be in every Metroidvania, if only as an option. As you explore, you uncover areas of the map.
Mhm.
In other Metroidvanias, you search through the rooms and try to find everything that might be there, or you realize, oh, there's, I can't get everything. I have to come back. In this game, the rooms on the map start out as gray. If you find all the items, everything there is to find in that room, it changes to blue. And
Oh, I love that.
just at a look that you're done. You can move on to other rooms.
That reminds me of like old school Assassin's Creed games where like you clear an area and it's just like, I don't ever have to touch that area again. This
Right.
area is clear.
Yes, and that eliminates a lot of unnecessary backtracking. It conveys easy information to the player that you are done here. You can move on to other stuff. And even with that, it still took me, like, without unnecessary backtracking, I still logged about 16 hours on the in-game clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it's still a meaty game, even though you've got, I mean, normally that would save you some time, right?
Yeah, but even so, there's still a lot of exploring to do. You do have to do some backtracking because you gain new movement abilities, and that lets you access different areas. And just overall, it's such a fun game. And if you feel like it's too easy, great. Turn up the difficulty, take off certain relics. The relics grant you various abilities. Just take some off, make it harder. It's a very doable game. I think it's more accessible than Hollow Knight simply for those QOL features. But there are bosses, and the community is in agreement that are just hard skill checks, just based on how they operate.
So you're playing this on PC, but it looks like it is also available on Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. And what's the price point on this? $24.99?
Yeah, I think it's worth it. It is, again, it's a solid game. It's a great Metroidvania. This is one, music is great, art style is great, graphics are amazing. The game just oozes atmosphere. I mean, this is one where I say absolutely get it, both because it's a great game and also support the developers so that they'll make a threequel.
Yeah, you want more, huh?
Yeah, heck yeah, I want more.
Does it end with like a cliffhanger type thing, or there's going to be more to the story?
It's not a continuous story. This feels like a separate world, and there might be connections to the first game, but I didn't really catch which ones. So I imagine if they were going to make a third game, maybe they tie in games 1 and 2, or it's just completely separate, like 1 to 2.
Very cool. Well, just to give our listeners an idea of how much you are loving this game, usually with our writers, I have to like hunt you guys down and like, hey, we got to get on the podcast so we can record this. I completely forgot about this one because we covered it when it was in early access. And I get a message from Rella that says, hey, I want to talk about Ender Magnolia on the podcast. Can we get together? And I'm like, sure. So that I don't think that's ever happened in our years of friendship that like you came to me and said, I'm ready to talk about this.
You know what? When a game deserves some extra mention, I got to step up.
I appreciate it, man. It's on my list. I'm actually tempted to go back to the first one. I know you said it's a little bit clunkier, or should I just go into this one?
I think the first game is worthwhile. It definitely has different systems though, because the first game you had like 2 different loadouts that you could switch between with the monsters that you recruited. In this game, you have like a primary, and then you can set up your various other monsters to other face buttons plus the R button. And it's really good, but it's a different setup.
Interesting.
I think the first game's still worth playing, but I also say that it's not as polished as the sequel, obviously.
Okay. That's usually how it works. Also, shout out to Stride PR hooking you up with a copy of that one. And the game is developed by AdGlobe and Livewire and published by Binary Haze Interactive. Rel, as always, man, thanks for stopping by. You got anything you want to plug before we head out of here?
No, just Ender Magnolia, quite frankly.
All right, man. Well, see you next time, and thanks for stopping by.
See ya.
Thank you, guys. Do appreciate that. And I already said before we go on to the topic, but got a couple housekeeping things to mention. Already mentioned Facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. Please join the community. I keep all of the podcast episodes on there, all the news articles we do, all the reviews we do, and any just fun video game related anything is on there. We've got an awesome community of people over there. Also, our Discord is there's a link for it in the show notes. That community is live and thriving. If you get a chance, drop us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the podcast. We would greatly appreciate it. And lastly, our website, thegamingoutsider.com. You can find all of the reviews as well, including Zach's review of Tales of Iron, Whiskers of Winter. He loved that game. Absolutely loved that game, so you want to read his review to find out why. Now it is time for us to move on to our From the Outside In topic. All right, here we go, guys. This week's topic was all Jacob's idea. He stumbled across a lawsuit that, as you'll see, got our blood boiling, especially CB's. It has to do.
I'm gonna get canceled today.
It has to do with video game addiction. So we decided to tackle this topic. Jacob, you discovered this. Why don't you tell us what you found out about this lawsuit so we can discuss it and whether or not they have a case?
So I've got a couple of websites opened up. It's their legal, their law firms or whatever. But just to read a couple quick paragraphs from them. The first one comes from the Guardian Legal Network. Quick Google searches will bring these up, but it says, for too long, video game addiction has been dismissed as an accepted side effect of digital entertainment. However, the reality is so much more serious. Young lives have been derailed, education prospects lost, and mental and physical health compromised. The lawsuit is rooted in the failure of video game companies to warn minors about the risks of video game addictions. We aim to hold these corporations accountable for negligence and the impact of lives of young gamers. I lost the other one. Never mind. I had a list of the defendants they were going to go after, and it's gone.
One of them was Blizzard, one was Activision.
To name a few, you've got Activision, Blizzard, Epic Games, Microsoft, Roblox, Nintendo, Takes-Two Interactive Software, and Sony. So they're just hitters. Yeah. You've got a lot of big names in there. All these different law firms this lawsuit is going after now.
So basically, a law firm has created a class action lawsuit, and they're hoping to get people who have been affected by video games in terms of addiction compensated for the harm that they've received.
No. Yeah. I'm gonna.
Well,
is that not accurate?
I'm
partially.
Jake, I like if you finish what you're gonna say, because I'm gonna start crapping on things right now.
So they're aiming for excessive gaming hours, physical and social consequences, and in-game purchases and economic impact is what this lawsuit is aiming for. And
how do you measure that?
You can't.
You really can't. I'm sure we'll get into
right
it
now.
But
I'm sorry, but there is only
right,
one type of person that benefits from these types of lawsuits, and that's the damn lawyers. Like it's so hard for me not to go on a swearing rant on this because I'm so heated about this. This is the same thing as the McDonald's hot coffee lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
You shut your mouth. This is a group of lawyers who found a loophole, because if you read through everything, the actual lawsuit, I believe, takes place in Arizona, where this is able to be like the lawsuit is able to be carried. It's just like the Snapchat and the biometrics one could only be done in Illinois because the way the law is written.
So does that mean people who don't live in Arizona,
you can still receive compensation? It's just you're going to receive a certain amount, like depending on what state you live in. Like there may be a cap on something or how much they can like pursue for this. But here's the biggest problem with all these. The only people that are going to come out on top of this is the lawyers, because they're going to get like 15 to 20% of the entire take if the lawsuit happens. And Joe Schmo on the street who's like, oh yeah, like I was affected by this, you're gonna get
$5.
Yeah, you're gonna get $5 to like $10.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how this benefits anyone, legitimately anyone. Like, so by the way, folks, this is the beginning of my rant. Like, this is the first part of it. So
I wish everybody could have seen our text message that we had.
Oh, it was
when Jake first brought this to light. We started going on like on this whole tirade, and then I think CB was actually the one that says, "Save it for the show, boys."
Yeah, I was like, "Save it for the show," because
and then he's the one that's getting all.
Because I hate these types of lawsuits. Because here's what's going to happen: we're going to start getting in all game consoles or like you're going to start seeing inserts in games again, but it's going to be like, if you or a loved one could be affected by excessive gaming disorder,
or there's going to be like a label on the front of it, like with cigarettes or whatever.
That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to start seeing like stamped across the top of your PS6 warning, like you might be playing too much, or it's going to have internal time locks that are going to be set up. Oh wait, those things already exist.
Is D. Snyder available? Can we get him on this case?
Oh jeez. Like,
so they have some of those like in some of my Monster Hunter games, they're like, oh,
I
well,
know.
you're playing a lot. Go outside.
Just wait. We're gonna come back to that later.
He's on a mission.
Oh,
He really wants to go with this topic.
I do. You actually found something like I'm fired up about because I hate frivolous, pointless, stupid, utterly nonsensical lawsuits.
For the first time in forever. Oh, there's like no like it's legitimately just a group of lawyers who found a loophole that they could exploit to make a bunch of cash and make a name for themselves and get printed into law texts in the future. Like, we're the ones that took down the video game industry, the same industry that you've been fighting for, I don't know, since 1992, claiming that everything rots our brains and that
too close to the TV.
Yeah, which has never been proven true.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, all these things, you look at a lot of kids who play video games, they tend to have better hand-eye coordination. They have better problem-solving skills. There's a bigger problem at the root here.
You're right. I do want to counter a little bit and say that I am not going to fall on the wagon and say that video game addiction is not a thing.
I completely agree, but video game addiction is not a thing. Addiction and addictive personality is a thing.
Okay, so I've got the definition of what an addiction is. Addiction is a neuropsychological disorder characterized by a persistent and incessant urge to use a drug or engage in a behavior that produces a natural reward, despite substantial harm or other negative consequences. So we do see this with some people who play games. It's not all of them, but there are, there is not a person out there that has clarified the amount of hours that you can play to be considered addicted to a video game. But a lot of experts, doctors say that once you start reaching the 3-hour mark, there's a greater increase in the odds of actually physically harming yourself when it comes to playing these games.
You mean 3 hours, like
in one session? In one session.
Okay.
So sitting down and playing a game for 3 hours, that starts to have negative effects on your body.
Okay. Sue Hollywood.
Right.
Sue cell phones. Sue schools.
Sue jobs.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm sorry. But again, this is why I said video game addiction is not a thing.
Are you addicted to your job? You may be entitled to compensation.
Yeah. No, that won't fly.
I will say addiction and addictive personality is absolutely a thing. The problem is not everyone has access to certain outlets, so they find something that gives them joy because something in their life sucks.
So to your point, we would rather kids run to a video game than drugs or alcohol or...
No, absolutely not. I would have kids run to something else. That's why I said there's a bigger root to the problem here.
Okay.
People have crappy lives.
Mm.
And so they find something, or people have I'm gonna get myself in trouble. People have crappy parents.
Yeah.
Who don't want a parent and would rather just park their kid in front of a TV or a console and allow them to just do whatever they want. And then when there's a problem, they wonder, hey, you know what? I'm a great parent. I didn't do anything wrong. It must be the video game's fault.
It's a scapegoat.
I mean, to be fair, after a little research, the first evidence of video game addictions came in the early 80s with a game called Space Invaders. There were a couple of doctors who sat down with people and found a few people that were clinically obsessed with the game. And so that's when the whole looking into it started.
Take those same people and put crack in front of them.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it was just about the video games.
Also, can you imagine playing Space Invaders for 3 hours straight?
Yeah. Because you had no, here's the thing. Look at it in the mindset.
I had enough corners.
you had nothing else at the time.
Right.
So
it was more of a joke, man.
I know.
Well, that's not true either. Early 80s, kids were going outside and playing.
Kids, I still see kids go outside and play. The problem is we've turned into a society of people with the attention span of a goldfish who can't focus on anything other than immediate gratification now, which is a societal problem.
Yep.
And rather than try to fix the problem or do something about it, we immediately blame something and then sue it because we're like, oh, I'm going to make so much money of this. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're falling into the same trap that everybody else did.
Yeah. I think you mentioned like that immediate gratification. And I think it's, I mean, I'm going to admit myself, there could be an addiction in my life. But not even necessarily just video games. Obviously, I love to play video games, but I don't play as much as you guys think I do. Legitimately, like I'm lucky if I get 3 days a week, and 2 of those days is probably for like an hour or less. But I actually noticed something yesterday, and I think it's not even so much immediate gratification as it is stimulation of the brain. Like I struggle to even do household chores without something in my ear, audiobook, podcast, music. You know what I mean? Like the thought of like going out and mowing the lawn or cleaning my bathroom without something to occupy my mind drives me mad. I was standing outside drinking a cup of coffee. I can't stand outside without like pulling up my phone and watching a TikTok video or something. I'm walking into the house with a cup
that's immediate gratification right there. You had to pull out your phone to watch a video to get that pleasure response.
Well, yeah, but that's what it is. Like all of these things are boring. And when I was watching my mom do stuff when I was younger, she would just take the boring stuff in stride. She would just go be boring and then come back in the house and then then she would sit down and watch her shows or, whatever the hell she was going to do. And we have just, we can take our stuff with us now. We can have our stuff on us 24/7. And so, no, why not listen to a show or a song or something while doing the boring stuff that we don't need to do? And one of the things that drives me crazy now is I always see people who are working a job with their little Apple phone in their ear. They're listening to something while at work. And it's like, even me, 10 years ago would have never gotten away with anything like that, because you when you're on a job, you need to be there for the job.
Exactly. Right, but at the same time,
the job is boring. The job is boring, and so you've got to find a way to pleasure yourself while you're on the job. That sounded a lot worse than I thought it was going to be.
Well, okay.
My bad.
I'm gonna soapbox here for a minute. Like I'm gonna sound old, but I feel that old. We've created society in such a way that like we need that constant, just like even going back to a kid, like
that's what I'm saying. That's my problem is like
every Friday night, you remember like commercials like, oh, we have the Friday night like TV block, and like it's going to be literally 6 hours straight of TV of all the stuff that you want to watch, and then you'll get up on Saturday morning and you've got cartoons for 6 hours straight. So we've created the problem ourselves because nobody knows how to unwind. Granted, you are talking to the king of addictive personality,
right?
You guys have seen my house. Like, I like video games. I buy all the video games. I like Legos. I buy all the Legos. I like movies. I buy all the movies.
And you have ADD. It's like, ooh, Legos. Ooh, Blu-rays. Ooh, Laserdisc.
But here's the thing. I know I have a problem with it, but at the same time, I know how to switch my brain off. When like last week we were talking about going fishing.
Yeah, that would make me go mad.
But here's the thing. Like you need to learn to be able to disconnect and just relax. When was the last time you just sat outside for like a couple hours and just like watched the sunrise or sunset?
I don't remember ever doing that.
Dude, I do it all the time. There's times at night, like in the summer when it's nice out, I'll just go out, sit on my back porch and just stare at the stars.
Yeah, dude, I take everything fun in my life and turn it into something
Dr.
productive.
CB.
Well, I mean, you were talking to somebody who has like, yes, Kevin Honigford, and on this episode, Dr. CB. Yeah, I am not a real doctor, folks. I do not hold any medical degree. I've just done a lot of research into the subject because I have some of these issues myself.
Right.
Right.
Now our podcast has a disclaimer. Slap.
Boom. Done.
No, but my point for saying all this is that like we're similar in that like I struggle to relax. I struggle to turn off my brain. I am stimulating my brain with something up until the moment I go to sleep. I get up in the morning. The first thing I do is I open my phone and I do my Duolingo Spanish lessons before I even get out of bed or even go use the bathroom. I sit there and I do that. And then from that point on, I am on. I get out of bed, I get ready for work, I make breakfast, I pack my bag, I get in the car, I'm listening to a podcast on the way, or I'm listening to an audiobook. I get to work, I go to work, and every single moment of downtime I have at work, I am getting something accomplished. I'm answering emails, I am posting something on the website, posting something on the social media outlets. I am communicating with somebody. I am, and then it's so bad that it gets to the point that when I get caught up, as much as I consider myself to get caught up, I sit there and I go, what do I do now? I need something to do.
And okay. And again, this is a societal problem. Like we've created these monsters ourselves. And okay, so I'm gonna reference Jake here for a second because he's actually done this with me when we drove to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, was the drive down fun?
For the most part.
I mean, but
you could have played the radio? I mean,
but we had a lot of conversations, and we just like looked at things.
Yeah,
and so it's just like, okay, like de-stressing, unwinding. I mean, granted, like when we got down there, we did a lot of work, but the thing is, like, being able to like, Scott, how many times have I invited you, like, just go on this trip for the weekend with me? Because I see the same problems that I have in somebody else, and I'm like, I've learned how to deal with them, like in a certain way, and I'm trying to like help people I know around me. Like, dude, just like come with me, shut your brain off, like just have fun, hang out.
There's a guilt factor associated with enjoying myself and not accomplishing anything.
That's why I'm trying to help you break it.
So
why do you think I give you such a hard time about it?
I know. So to kind of spiral this back is like, this is a problem, clearly, not just with us, but a societal problem. Are video games to blame for that?
No.
And if yes, then everything else is to blame as well. Cell phones. I mean, you mentioned like, TGIF on TV shows on Fridays. Remember like actually setting your clock to like watch a show because that was the only time you could watch it?
Yeah.
And now, Stranger Things season whatever drops and all 10 episodes are there and you can watch them whenever you want to.
Yeah, but here's the thing, majority of the time, what do? You binge all of them.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I need something else. I need more.
Mm-hmm.
I need more. We've created a society of like just like constantly consume. And if you're not doing something, if you're not consuming something, if you're not working towards something, you're weird. You have a problem.
Well, and to go back to the analogy of movies and TV, has there been any class action lawsuits for Netflix?
No, not
you know what
one.
I mean? Like people will sit and watch Netflix for literally 8 to 12 hours a day on days off.
And it's funny because these lawsuits are now coming after the video games industry and the movie industry was praised for getting us through COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, you created like that was the problem is like, I feel that COVID was an accelerant to making a lot of the problems that we have worse.
Exacerbated the already existing problem.
Yeah. Like you like the world was on fire. We just threw gasoline.
Yeah.
And now we wonder why like students have worse grades because we did distance learning for 2 years. And now they don't, but you have those kids who function better in an environment like that. And now we're just going to sit here and be like, we're going to take that away. and then we're going to force back after they've learned to cope without it. So now the problem is you have kids who have legitimately crappy lives. Like, I can't control that because it's a society issue. Like, they have like problems at home, and their escape is video games because they don't have the resources or mental health help to deal with what they're going through. So they use video games and movies as an escape. And now you're going to take that away from them. I guarantee you, I'm going to soapbox on this right now, and you're going to listen. If you're going to sit here and take this away without having some other form of like escapism or mental health help, and we're just going to sue them, and this is going to become a problem, you are going to see a disastrous effect on the back end of this.
A lot more school shootings.
No. I'm willing to bet you're going to see a lot more of people harming themselves. Because again, like we absolutely as a society refuse to take responsibility for our actions. And then when the bill comes due, we try to push the buck off onto somebody else because I couldn't be a bad parent. I couldn't be a bad person. I couldn't be a bad legislator or a bad lawyer.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why that TikTok video you shared with us, which we don't have it linked here or anything for those listening, but I think CB shared it.
I was the one who shared it.
Okay, CB shared it, and it was a woman that says, "Do your kids play video games? You may be entitled to compensation." And then another woman comes on and says, you know, depending on how much time you've played and all this. And my immediate response was, so we're going to pay parents for not being able to say no to their kids, which drives me crazy. As another example, I saw a post on social media.
Before you move on from the TikTok video, I want Jake to say what he's thought about it.
I don't remember what I said.
where the entire time as this person is talking, it's blaring video game music and video games in the background.
Oh yeah,
like essentially feeding just into
Right.
the addiction. They're like, yes, these things are bad. Look out for these things because they're going to ruin your life.
Well, it was probably to try to get eyes on it.
Just,
you know what I mean?
Just to make sure you guys never do cocaine. This is what it smells like.
By the way, and also I will say there is a light at the end of the tunnel for this. After I soapbox for a while, I'm going to give you my quick thoughts at the end of this on how I think this lawsuit's actually going to go down.
Okay. I had a thought. I had a point. Where was I going? Oh, so last night I saw a Facebook post directed towards one of our local school districts, and it was talking about the laptops that the kids are bringing home. And the parent was upset because they didn't have access to their laptop to be able to police what their kids were looking at. Their high school age kids were looking at. And someone was like, get your kid to give you the password. And they're like, well, you clearly have never had a teenager. And it just blew my mind. Like that concept of a teenager being able to tell a parent, no, I'm going to use this laptop and you can't look into it.
The parent immediately gave up.
I would, yeah. And see, again, I couldn't be a bad parent. I'm their best friend. Don't be their best friend. Be a parent.
Yeah. So I just, anyway, I want to kind of circle back. I know that, Jake, you gave us a definition of addiction, but I want to kind of focus on that a little bit more and take a close look at what addiction is. What does it mean to be addicted to somebody? You gave a definition, and I know CB is not a doctor, but
I play one on a podcast.
But we have a listener who is an actual doctor, David Newman, and he gave us a description of what addiction is. CB, would you mind reading that? I don't think we'll go through the whole list there, but at least give the beginning, and then we'll go through some of the symptoms.
So the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Health Disorders, 5th edition, by the way, does have internet gaming listed as a potential addictive disorder, but states needs more research. It proposes these are potential symptoms. By the way, for those listening at home, I want you to take the word gaming and substitute it with any other thing you could be addicted to.
So also I have this piece of material in my notes. The DSM-5 included this in 2013 as the internet gaming disorder, and it needed further study. And the World Health Organization included gaming disorders in 2018 as a type of disease.
Yes.
So,
I remember that we talked about that on the show.
And I was heated then.
Yeah.
So all right, here we go. These are the list of symptoms, and like I said, feel free at home to play the game of swap the word gaming with anything else you could be addicted to.
Netflix, cell phone, computer.
Food.
hold up
Food.
fingers and put one down if you have one of these.
Yes. You can play along at home, folks. Okay, here we go. Preoccupation with gaming. Withdrawal symptoms when gaming is taken away are not possible. Sadness, anxiety, or irritability. Tolerance. The need to spend more time gaming to satisfy the urge. Inability to reduce playing. Unsuccessful attempts to quit gaming. Giving up other activities. Loss of interest in previously enjoyed activities due to gaming. Continuing to game despite problems. Deceiving family members or others about the amount of time spent on gaming. The use of gaming to relieve negative
Relieve.
Wow, my brain had it.
Whiskey.
Yes. The use of gaming to relieve negative moods such as guilt or hopelessness. Risk having jeopardized or lost a job or relationship due to gaming.
I would not.
So that means
Congrats.
Jacob has 7 of the 10,
I-
according
I-
to his fingers. But again, like CV said, you take gaming out and replace it with
Any other thing.
Yep.
Alcohol, drugs, company.
So, well, that's, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second, but so a couple of places that I saw also have the stages of addiction labeled, and so it's the stages are initiation, experimentation, regular use, risky use, dependency, addiction, and crisis or treatment. And for me, I'm probably somewhere hovering between regular use and risky use. Because like there are still things in the house that I need to do
we're
that my wife has told
self-diagnosing
me
here.
to do. Well, I mean, the best way to
no.
discuss this is to be brutally honest. Like
No,
even
that-
us.
That's an absolutely good thing to do, because discussing that you might have a problem is
First
the
step.
first step in recovery.
Hi, my name is Jay Widdowson, and I'm addicted to video games.
Well, I mean, in my defense, I feel like I don't allow, and this is why I don't play as games as much as I probably should for being a host of a gaming podcast, is I don't let myself game until I've gotten everything else done first. For the most, you're looking at me super judgmental right now.
I'm gonna hit you with something hard. Hey Scott, I want you to take a look at all those and replace the word gaming with guilt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm addicted to guilt, CB.
You think I'm lying, but I've seen you do Jake looks at me like I think you're addicted to self-punishment.
Well, yeah, I grew up in a very strict religious environment.
In a cult? Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Pretty much.
Do you hit your wrists with rulers?
Oh, snap bracelets.
Bad Scott.
We all had snap bracelets in the 90s, right? That was a thing.
Oh,
Yeah. Still
yeah.
have some.
Yours never bent, right? They just hurt. They just hurt a lot.
I was not raised Catholic. There was no
Oh, my bad.
there was no physical harm going on in my school. Although there was spanking in our schools.
I was
Oh.
raised Catholic.
Were you? Well, that didn't work.
They didn't hit you hard enough.
Yeah.
That's the problem is when you have those like super religious upbringings, either one of two things happen. Either you continue with it or you go the exact opposite direction.
Well, let's go ahead before we finish up and talk about what needs to happen. Let's see what the community said. I'll start over on Facebook with Kevin Honingford. He says, "Man, this is such a difficult thing to talk on for me. I will speak firsthand that it is actually a thing. It does exist. It can be a real problem. There was a time that I could not go more than a few hours without being logged into World of Warcraft to progress or make sure I was helping my guild. That being said, I think online social interaction is the key to, quote, unlocking one's addiction to video games. And to get away is equally as difficult as an alcoholic steering away from alcohol. And sure, Many of you think otherwise, but believe me, I speak from experience. As far as this lawsuit goes, I don't know what framework they stand on, but some, if not most of the online games today bait their line with an addiction in mind, because that's money in their pockets. You know, that's something we didn't touch on. Thank you, Kevin, for the comment, is that psychology is something that a lot of these video games have been proven to look at in terms of ways to get
Oh, yeah.
people to spend money on, you know, the loot boxes and you know, cosmetics and all this kind of thing. Is they like, how does addiction work? How do we get them addicted? You know what I mean? How much
Well,
of that is brought to light?
every single major company and corporation hire psychologists for this. I mean,
Mhm.
even supermarket design was designed by psychologists. Like, there's a reason why the most expensive things that you buy are at eye level, because you tend to look at eye level, not up or down.
Right.
Paul Hine, actually, you can see the comment here, writes in, I'm going to second Kevin. His comment hit super close to home. Ex wow troll here. Guess what, Paul? I was too. And what broke it for me was typing /played. The moment I knew how much time I had forced into that game, I've typed /played. I haven't looked back since. I've had
Oh,
friends
really?
like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, once you know that there's a problem, because it became too much of a job. And then
Mhm.
the straw that broke the camel's back was literally like, I typed /play. It was like, on this character alone, you have 258 in days game played.
That's
So
insane.
258 days of my life were spent on one character in that game. And I was like, I literally, I typed that, read the number, thought about it for a second, logged off, and I haven't logged on since.
Have you watched The Big Bang Theory?
Mhm.
Do you remember the episode where Penny got addicted to whatever MMO she was playing,
Yeah.
and she like you know, let herself go, and her hair was all crazy, and she had food hanging out of her mouth and stuff, and then she was online chatting with Wallowitz, and
Dude,
like agreed to go on a date, and then she's like, I'm done. That was her like, I've been playing this for 258 days moment.
and I mean, it's a legitimate thing, but again, it was something that hit me like a ton of bricks, and basically like sitting there realizing it, and then I can talk about it with people. Like, I can make jokes about it, because guess what? That was me.
Mm-hmm.
But I've brought it up in other scenarios where, you know, these loot boxes have the sounds and the lights and all that kind of stuff, and it makes you want more of it. It's a gambling mentality out of the loot boxes,
It's
but at the same point,
it's a slot
these
machine.
yeah, it's a slot machine, but at the same point, when you have like Call of Duty being called out for rigging the lobbies to put people who have not bought things into lobbies with better players who have bought things, to convince the people who are worse to buy things to be better.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the psychology and mentality that's going into these games to convince people to spend more money on their game. And that's where it should, I mean, that's where it should be, the line should be drawn. You should not be able to put basically like, you know, dark things in your game to convince players to spend money. Like, your point is to make a game for fun. And yes, if you want to have, you know, extra stuff in there that people can buy, yes, but to actively go out of your way to trick people into buying things,
Yeah.
no, that's underhanded.
It comes back to like the age-old argument that I've had for years and years, is that I grew up loving games and wanted everybody to participate in it. And now that everybody's participating, everybody's ruining it. You know what I mean?
No, the problem is you've grown up with it, but due to the fact that you now have better resources to look at it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're
Mhm.
looking at it through rose-colored glasses, you're actually seeing that there was a problem the entire time.
Maybe, but I mean, I feel like, I mean, there weren't loot boxes when we were kids.
NES game boxes,
I mean, it's
bright, shiny, designed to catch your attention and make you want to buy.
that's
Well,
just
I mean,
marketing, though. That, I mean, are we also gonna talk about like commercials
Marketing's the
and
same
like
thing.
toy commercials? You know, like there's a
Yeah,
difference
but that's
between
so-
marketing and
That was the beginning of the problem, though.
Mhm.
But over the years, it has evolved through the evolution of technology, so it's more in the forefront, and they've just found new ways to make you spend the dollar.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So the problem's been there all along. It's just now technology has pushed it to the fact that like it's so big and so bad. Like Ready Player One, they were talking about like, oh, when the one company's like, oh, well, we can put up to like we can obscure 70% of a player's vision with ads before they'll have seizures.
Right.
I guarantee you that's the kind of things they're looking at. Paul Hine, actually fantastic. Thank you for bringing that up. The phone number in Nintendo Power, 99 cents for the first minute and $2.99 for each minute after that. So yes, it existed back then. It's just we didn't have the technology to do it.
Yeah. And now everything is just much more accessible, right?
Yeah, and growing up in the 80s and 90s, like we didn't have wide access to the internet and news was slower. The problem is, like I said, we've now realized that the problem was there all along. Everything's designed this way. Slot machines, like Jake was saying with like loot boxes, they're designed to give you that look, I'm a winner.
Even when you lose at those, it still has the effect of like you won something, you won anything.
It was the lawsuit a couple of years ago when they were talking about loot boxes. How'd that lawsuit go? It went nowhere.
Are you sure? I feel like
they were like, okay, well, you have to post the odds of winning.
Right.
That was the end of that lawsuit. But guess what? There's ways around that statistic. You just increase or decrease the number of loot boxes available.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny we keep mentioning gambling and casinos and stuff, and that's all those ticket games at arcades are now, right? It's
the same ones that we grew up with in the 80s.
Yeah. I feel like they're a lot flashier now than they were in the 80s, though.
Just one more run like Balatro. It's designed. Everything's designed to just be like, yes, more.
Yes, but Balatra's not charging you a quarter for every time you start a new round.
But you paid $20 to get it.
And for as many pulls as you want.
And
anyway, let's go to another comment.
CB, take the next one.
Joel Solinsky, complete money grab for lawyers is all this is. Also another way to blame someone other than yourself for your actions. This is about the same as suing the distillery that made the whiskey you drank before drunk driving. Oh, see, like
it's Whisker. It's Whisker for one.
Whisker. It's Whisker. Hey, don't be making fun of my accent.
It was a callback to you mispronouncing Whisker.
I know. But I mean, there are similar lawsuits in other industries of adult things that are currently going on because rather than be educated or educating your children on something, we'd rather sue the manufacturer of something than take the responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jake, and I'm not going to bring it up because I'm not going down that.
You're already fired up. We don't need you any more pissed off than you already are.
What is that name? Rex Kicks?
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine from my Rotten Tomatoes days.
Anyway, Rex Kick says, I don't know, but I've been playing OG Ninja Gaiden 2 on my Xbox 360, watching it on my computer screen through the magic of video capture card. Scotty knows how much I like this game. Even I bought a new to me Xbox 360 for this one job since my previous one was not working at all. I mean, I'm absolutely probably addicted to Monster Hunter. I've gone out of my way to buy several consoles specifically for one game.
and Armored Core.
I have not bought or gone out of my way to buy consoles for Armored Core.
PS3.
Thankfully.
I was there.
I already had a PS3. I specifically wanted the reverse compatible one that I had before that Sony stole from me. Jerks. Anywho, but no, I have completely gone out of my way to buy, my Wii. I have never once played another game on the Wii other than Monster Hunter Tri.
Seriously?
And, yeah. I have played other games on there, but not of my own choosing. Like I've played Wii Bowling or Wii Sports or whatever with my kids and whatnot. But
you didn't play Brawl?
I guess I did play Brawl for a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I just realized
thanks. I appreciate that. But no, before I playing because Brawl was on. Yeah, never mind. No, that was Melee. Never mind. Yeah, okay.
Melee was
I used it for
GameCube,
two
right?
games.
Yeah.
Yes. So I used it for 2 games. My God.
Rex goes on in his comment to talk about how like his TV went down or he wasn't able to play it. and he started getting
Oh, man.
anxious. And
I skipped all of that. My bad.
yeah, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he basically was like, he's feeling anxious, and now all he wants to do is play Ninja Gaiden, but he had to take a break. So he's like, and I can't tell because it's hard to read tone over text. He goes, but I'm not addicted. Oh no, I can stop anytime I want to. I just don't want to. And then he finishes and says, no, this lawyer doesn't have a case. There are lots of compulsions, but that doesn't make the video game companies responsible. So
it's going to be more fun when I think why they don't have a case.
We'll get there. Next comment.
Another thing is like, we're adults. We have responsibility. There's a lot of just hold on. A lot of us, especially with this podcast and stuff, there are other things that we do. There are other things that we need to attend to, and we also attend to them. And so, yeah, we're not that deep, but I have seen people who need 6 or 7 things happening in front of them to actually do this stuff. They're watching a show, they need to have music. Why you're listening to music while you're watching a show is beyond me, but you can't have any downtime and any kind of that stuff drives me insane. But
Scott's watched my insanity in person, where I'll be playing a game, have a movie on, listening to something, and have a book open near me.
It's society. The society is the issue. I swear to God, it's
I think a lot of it has to come down to, we need to be okay with being bored again.
Yeah,
like it's like considered a bad thing if you're bored. And I feel like that started when I was a kid. It drove me nuts. Like I don't remember the last time I physically out loud said, where I wasn't just quoting it like I am now, I'm bored. I said that all the time when I was a kid.
No, here's the problem. It's not that we need to be okay with being bored. We need to be allowed to like daydream again.
Yeah.
Or just stop, enjoy crap around you.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
scenery, touch some grass.
I look at clouds. I mean, I do all the stuff that like CB talks about when he like, I'm gonna sit around the house and look at stars and watch the sunset and all that kind of stuff. I do that stuff too. Sometimes I'll go outside and I'll sit on my benches and I'll listen to music and just kind of enjoy the night and just kind of just relax for a little bit and whatever. But
I went to therapy for a while to try to learn how to relax, and that turned into a whole
enough.
Nope.
Yeah. Hang on, let me finish what I'm going with. And one of the things that he recommended me to do was to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And that concept of just sitting there and thinking gives me the shakes, dude. Like I feel like I can't just. I don't have anything against. I'm not like one of those that like, oh, it's a religious thing, and I'm not against it. I'm just saying, for me personally, the idea of just sitting there and just thinking, it makes me nervous.
No, I already know one of the best things to do for you, but the problem is you won't do it.
Well, yeah, I haven't meditated yet. Like
hang out with someone, talk.
Yeah,
that like legit, like it goes way farther than you think. Like literally, just getting together, because we all did it when we were younger. You just go over to a friend's house, you sit down, you hang out, you talk, you put your literally, you turn your phone off, you set it down, you just hang out, have a conversation. That's why I said, have a conversation, touch some grass.
You know what we should do? It should just become a societal thing. Like we've made a lot of societal changes in terms of being accepting of people and whatnot. We should accept this, where like if you go out and you hang out with a friend and you've got your phone, and I'm preaching to the choir here, you know this.
I know.
But we put our phones down, and if you like, I use my phone to say like I log my beers and Untapped or something like that. If I'm gonna do that, be like, hey, do you mind if I grab my phone really quick and log this beer? Like, ask the person you're with before you look at your phone.
You know what
I did this today with Jacob. We were at the gym, and we took a break in between a couple games. And what was the first thing I did, Jake? Sat
pull out
down,
your phone.
Pull out my phone, like to check the feed.
To be fair, I did leave you alone for 3 seconds because I was thirsty and needed water. So I could see how you were bored by yourself.
Yes,
but that's another thing though, is when you were a kid and you were like, oh man, I'm bored, you were saying that because you wanted someone to cure your boredness. Now you don't need to. Your brain goes, I'm bored, and your reaction is to pull out your phone.
Out your phone.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm gonna just every time I'm gonna be like, Scott, put your phone down. If you don't put your phone down, I'm gonna start being a cat. I'm gonna slap it out of your hand.
Just backhand him.
All right, Jake, you want to read the next comment?
Oh, where am I at? Okay.
Tim Holland.
Tim Paulin. I have seen a friend who was addicted to Marvel snap to the point where he was playing instead of working and ignoring his family. He would delete it off his phone only to reinstall it when nobody was watching. Now, this person, yeah. Now, this person has never drank or smoked in his life because of religious beliefs. I believe that games are his crack. Most people can keep gaming down to the hobby level, no different than either drinking socially or being an alcoholic. Should beer companies be sued? How about caffeine addictions? Everybody has their weakness. What do you think?
He makes a good point. Everybody has their weakness.
Everybody has their vice. Yeah, I like, yeah,
Part of human mentality.
And it could be something that on the surface is good for you.
Some people like to run.
Yeah.
Some people like to run in circles.
I used to run. I was addicted to running. I used to get antsy and need to go running.
I used to be addicted to the hokey pokey. And then I turned myself around.
I'm gonna slap you. Have you never just like
why?
Have you never just gotten in your car and taken a drive, Scott?
Not since I was a teenager.
See, do it more often, man.
Dude, getting my car to drive is A to B. I don't like being in the car.
Oh, it's relaxing.
David Newman. I think game addiction is a real thing and can affect the lives of the person who is addicted and their loved ones. Should all the game companies be sued for being addicted? No. Should some companies be sued for making games that are predatory? Possibly, but it depends on how they do it. But they probably shouldn't be sued. As Tim Pollen alluded to in his comment, other companies profit off vices that can be addictive. But should they be sued? No, because it comes down to the individual and or friends and family to recognize when someone has an addiction.
I actually just went to the most addictive place in the country. It's called Las Vegas. Are casinos being sued for families losing millions upon millions of dollars every year?
Yeah.
No. It's acceptable and expected.
Yeah.
Is Ticketmaster being sued for their predatory pricing strategies?
That's a good point too, yeah.
No.
All right, CB, we got one more comment. It's a doozy.
From Mr. Sean Coates himself. He writes in, I've always felt the idea of video game addiction gets overblown, especially when it's compared directly to cigarettes, alcohol, or hard drugs. As someone who's been smoking for almost 20 years and struggles to quit, I can confidently say it's not the same. Substances like cigarettes come with clear physical dependencies and brutal withdrawal symptoms, which gaming just doesn't have. I'm going to pause real quick, Scott.
Yeah. Endorphins.
It is endorphins. You can specifically look up the hikikomori in Japan. Look it up. It's a fascinating case about kids who become so addicted like to games or things they completely withdraw from society.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's just because they didn't have access to other things. I also think we as a society tend to use the word addiction a little too broadly. Kind of feels similar to how we declare war on intangible issues, war on poverty, war on crime, or a war on homelessness. It sounds dramatic, it grabs attention, but oversimplifies complex problems. Laming gaming as an addiction risks doing the same, turning what's often just a habit or a distraction into something that might not be. That said, I get the concerns, especially when you consider games with loot boxes, endless progression systems, and other RNG mechanics designed to keep players hooked. But for most people, gaming is just a fun hobby or a healthy escape. I think the real problem is when gaming starts interfering with relationships and responsibilities. But even then, it often feels like a symptom of a deeper issue, not the core problem itself.
We had some great comments from our listeners this week.
Yes, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Going back to the initial question here.
Going back to the lawsuit.
Yeah. How do you think this is going to end?
In utter stupidity.
Okay.
First off, video games fall under entertainment. You know what's protected? Entertainment under the First Amendment. So, remember what happened to music is making the kids harm people? How'd that go?
That's why I said D. Snyder, man. That was the whole
John
Yep.
John Denver was actually one of the biggest proponents during that.
one of the tamest musics out there. Right?
Yes. So I legitimately think this lawsuit is it's going to garner a lot of attention. But when they go in and be like, hey, is there a lawsuit here? It's going to get thrown out so fast.
That's the expectation.
But the problem is it's going to be just like every other thing, like video games are making the kids more violent. It's going to keep finding new ways to evolve. Like this is just the next iteration of the video games make kids violent.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't win that battle, so they're trying to find a new one.
What's that guy's name? Was it Jack Thompson?
Stupid McSenator face.
No, I'm talking about the lawyer that like I tried to go after video games, calling them murder simulators and stuff back in the early 2000s. Remember that?
Is this lawsuit going to go away eventually? Are there things that could be beneficial to society from this lawsuit? Absolutely.
Are you going to get thousands and thousands of dollars in compensation from this lawsuit? No.
At most, you're going to get a $5.99 gift card to Starbucks, kids.
Or to GameStop. That'd be hilarious.
So I have myself and my 2 kids, and so I'm going to get at least like $15. So.
Okay.
No, it'll be a family package. You'll get that.
Get a coffee and a half.
No,
Rats.
but are there things that could be beneficial from this? Do I think that loot boxes and such in games that are specifically designed for children predatory? Absolutely. Do I think that there needs to be like, hey, guess what? If this game is mature rated,
mm-hmm.
that can have loot boxes. Anything else? Absolutely not.
Wasn't there a thing in the 2000s about making movies that had smoking depicted in them rated R?
Yep.
Like absolutely. So what? Every game that depicts gambling or has some kind of gambling in it is going to be rated M.
That's why every TV show that is teen and under does not have smoking in it.
Because we know how well those ratings on those games were. It definitely keeps us kids from playing M-rated games.
And this is where a lot of it boils down to. If loot boxes were only in mature titles and above, congrats, parents, you are the problem.
You are off the hook. You no longer you again can go back to not babysitting your children.
Like it just goes to show the problem. Like oh, should as a parent, if I know this game has predatory tactics, should I allow my child to be playing this game in the first place? And this is going to come up if it does go to court. Any lawyer worth their salt is going to go, as a parent, do you think it was morally responsible for you to be allowing your child to play this game?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, but you still put it in there. Did your child buy the game?
No.
Who did? I did. Congrats. Once again, you're the problem.
Yep.
That's why I say
that doesn't mean that those predatory things shouldn't exist, though.
Nope. Predatory things are part of the game. The problem is if you as a consumer are not doing your due diligence, actual lawyer term there, your due diligence to be well informed on the product that you are buying, it is not the company's fault. Hence the reason
I'm not saying it's the company's fault.
No. I'm again,
right.
I'm heated about this because I know this lawsuit is going to garner a lot of attention for the most negative, stupid reasons. But there is a reason why, as a consumer, if you buy a pack of cigarettes, you cannot sue the company who makes them, because on the packaging, there is the due diligence already done for you saying that this product causes cancer. So I see what's going to happen is we're going to start seeing video game warnings, like labels on video games.
I could see that happening. Yeah, this has potential loot box. This has addictive things that might make your kid could harm them. You know what I mean?
That could
this game has flashing lights and can cause epilepsy. Please consult a doctor before you continue playing.
But no, I think it's going to get out of hand because here's the problem. If you look at the current ESRB ratings, like mature, this game contains violence and other things that could be damaging to a child under a certain age.
Mhm.
That is
Please.
nothing but advertisement and marketing for those kids that want to play that game.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if you
Right.
slap a warning label on these games, you're going to make it more taboo. And like
Make it more attractive to kids.
you want the easiest way to solve this? Guess what? Those profiles that you make for your kids, when
Put
it
an
sets
age
up,
on it.
put an age on it. Congrats, you are locked out of anything that could do this.
And if your parents change that, then
Oof.
it is their fault.
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
they consent to it. They already consent to it. They're the ones that spend the money. They make the consent.
And they
And-
gotta click on a end user license
Yep.
agreement saying
And guess
yep,
what? I am all for that because I have a Netflix account. I have 3 boys. Each boy has their own account and it's set to their age. And I didn't like if you've ever gone on like Disney Plus or Netflix and gone into those, there is so much stuff that is actually locked out of those age range brackets.
Mhm.
Like we have one for Declan because he likes watching Coco Melon and like some educational stuff. But every single program that's in his age range is no longer than 5 minutes.
Wow.
So guess what? I did my due diligence.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
There's
Which one-
ways to set parental controls, but nobody uses them.
When I came into my kids' life, they were about 9 and 10, and I had to learn real quickly what was acceptable to do as a parent and what was not acceptable to do as a parent. And let me tell you, I have stumbled on my feet plenty of times, but at some point around the age of 14 and 15, my kids came to me and they wanted to know why I was not allowing them to play certain games. And I said, as a parent, it is my job to save you from yourself because there are evils in the world that at this age you do not need to know about until you are old enough to handle them mentally for yourself. And they've questioned me. They've asked me to buy, games. Now my kids are older. They're both about to be graduated from high school. They can make certain decisions for themselves, but they look back at some of those things that I told them and they go, "You were absolutely correct." And it's I know like we've raised our kids to be a little bit more maybe responsible, less responsible, whatever, but like I told my kids at a very young age that when I turned of a certain age, I went back to my mom and I thanked her for all of the lessons that she gave me growing up because I felt that I was more prepared. And as a parent, I was trying to do the same thing for them. And I feel that maybe one of the 2 children took that to heart and started learning like, hey, when he speaks, I should listen. And so, I mean, you would
Hey,
probably
1 out of 2
never
ain't
get
bad.
Yeah.
you would probably never guess which one in my household it would be, but one of them listens to me, the other one really doesn't. But we've got this idea where the kids are as good as we could make them, and we've done the best we can by doing the things that parents should actually do. But you see it so often where parents aren't doing the things that they should be doing to keep certain things out of their kids' hands, whether it's giving them internet access at a very young age and they can see everything. There's no restrictions on what they can see. And so, at the drop of a hat, that kid can look up anything, see anything, hear anything. And, we had me and Scott just went to a DJ gig and we had, what were they? 4th graders?
I mean, it was just an elementary school, so they had all ages.
So it's an elementary school, but we still had kids coming up and asking for songs that they heard their parents playing that were not going to be allowed, but because they heard their parents playing them, those songs were cool and they wanted to hear them. They thought it made them cool, and it's like, no, we can't. It's just the same. It's the same argument.
Kids are
as like
sponges,
smoking.
man.
Yeah, it's the same argument as smoking. Well, smoking makes you cool, so I want to smoke. Well, smoking doesn't make you cool. That was the whole thing in the 90s. Smoking doesn't make you cool. You don't need to do the same things that you see your parents doing.
And I will say, like, out of everything that I said today, like, I'm not trying to like crap on every parent out there. Because guess what? I understand, like, being someone who has 3 boys, parenting is hard. But you have, like, hopefully you have a stable support group around you, whether it be your significant other, your family, something. And if you don't have that, reach out for help, man. Because the only way we can get better as a society and get through some of these problems is by helping each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're having issues with stuff, dude, send me a message. I'll talk to anybody. Like, I talk to you all the time. Shut up. I may be a gruff old jackass.
That's speaking lightly.
That's a marker.
At the same time, how many times at the drop of a hat, Scott, have I helped you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But see, that's the thing. Is like I will help anybody. Like that's the big thing. Like we can only improve as a species or society once everybody works together. Do we all have opposing viewpoints on things? Yes, absolutely. That's what makes us human. Like it's all about education and working together.
Yep, totally.
So that's why I say, like, congrats, you're part of it. And it's not just parents that can be the part of it's society. It's a lot of factors that are all contributing to this, but it's the parents that legitimately look at this lawsuit like this is a cash grab for me because my kids. No, like those are the ones that I'm like supremely mad at.
The ones I'm more angry at are the moms that look at a video like that TikTok video that you shared and go, all right, I get to stick it to these stupid video game companies that's the one that really bugs me more.
That's why I still think there needs to be a legitimate test to have children.
Oh man, you gotta be careful, man. You gotta.
We're going off the deep end now.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, Jacob,
I told you I'm gonna get myself canceled on this episode.
Jacob, one of the things you want to talk about is like how do we fix it? I feel like we've touched on it a couple times. Is there anything more you wanted to add to like handling addiction?
I'm afraid because like it's not going to be the handling of the addiction that happens. It is going to be somehow the monitoring of what people are doing on their games. And I'm afraid that you might get like there's already games that have warnings out there that like you've already been playing for a really long time. Maybe you should turn the game off and go outside. Okay, well, the games are connected to the internet. They're connected to a global time. What happens when the game goes, all right, you've reached your allotted time for the day. You're now locked out until the next calendar date.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're spending money on a game that you want to play, and as an adult you should be able to play it, but now you can't because it's going to be considered an addiction.
That's not going to happen in this country.
They tried that already.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but still,
you know how we got around that? We just reset the calendar date on the system.
Well, that's not going to work because most of the games need to be connected to the internet now.
You can still do it.
You can change the time zone
because we did.
You're in.
We did it for the Batman game. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
So Calendar Man in the Batman game, if you spoofed your time, you could have certain events happen in the game that were locked out until certain dates.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, congrats. Now you know that one.
Nice.
Cool. Well, like I remember like in the old Animal Crossing games, if you wanted to ruin some stuff, you could speed the time up or whatever. But that's but like this is going to have to be something that you agree to. You're going to have to allow this to happen.
If the video game companies put time locks on that, they would kill themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But
and then the rise of physical media would be complete.
Right. But
well, they need you to play your game as long as possible so you get through it and want to go to the next one. Although FOMO is a thing and people will just buy the next one anyway. But
yeah. But like we're looking at worst case scenario, what happens to the gaming industry if they wanted to put regulations on how long you can play?
What government watchdog is ever going to do that? We can't.
Not on this side.
So,
not going to happen.
We can't even get we can't get a government entity to like fund things properly for anything. So they're like, hey, now we need a government watchdog to like watch the time for video games.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be a watchdog. It wouldn't even need to be a watchdog. You would just have that stuff set up through the company. Just have it be a built-in time thing right into the code of the game.
And every company's just going to move overseas and be like, okay.
Yep, exactly.
We don't have to follow your laws.
Well, I mean, yeah, you do if you're going to sell a product in the United States.
Yeah, how did TikTok go for that one?
I was gonna say it's not gonna happen, dude. Is
You would kill.
Okay.
You would
Okay,
destroy so many jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. You would.
I'm
you
not
would
saying it
destroy
needs
so
to
many
happen. I'm
jobs,
just saying.
but you would destroy so many jobs and such a vital part of the business sector that you would inadvertently create like your own mini like civil war. Like just you'd watch all the gamers rise up and be like, "Oh, we coming for you now."
Mhm. How would you guys fix it? What do you think?
Education. Plain
Yeah,
and simple.
education and therapy. I mean, but education is even the cleaner answer. That kind of sums it all up.
Well, it's not just education for the kids, it's education for the parents, it's education to the companies.
The
It's
problem is that people don't think they need to be educated because everybody thinks they're the smartest person in the room at all times. People don't think they need to be educated. They don't value education. They look at education as a stumbling block to keep them from those fun moments those instant gratification feelings.
I'm not touching that comment with a 10-foot pole.
Why?
Just
Save it for off the air, I guess.
I love
trying not to become political on this podcast.
that's why I said I love you to death, Sean, but I'm trying not to be political. I'm trying to remain neutral as best I can.
I thought you were talking to me and on my count. I'm like, what did I say?
but I get where you're coming from, Sean. I will say that.
All right. CB, you got more to add?
But no, education, plain and simple, holding people accountable for their actions.
I think just holding people accountable in general. Like we are teaching kids that it is okay to not do anything and just.
I'm gonna say something bad. Yes.
Hold the parents accountable.
Start calling people stupid again.
Oh yeah, that's a good
like,
one.
Here's the problem. Like I'm a bad person if I tell somebody that, like, guess what? You're being a crappy person.
Here's your workaround for that: is you don't call them a crappy person. You tell them they are acting like a crappy person. You were acting like a stupid person. Well, he called me stupid. No, I didn't. I said you were acting stupid.
No.
Well,
just flat out.
There was a friend of mine who is a lawyer also gave me the complete workaround to using the FAFO phrase in a completely legal manner.
Okay. You gonna lay it on us or no?
Why don't you? It was why don't you
test that theory and
find the proper consequences?
Yeah. So,
but that's the problem. Is like until we realize, like, guess what? Feelings are gonna get hurt. I'm sorry. Like, but people need to start being held accountable for their actions and responsible for the consequences of said actions.
And to be clear, we're talking about ourselves too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's why, like,
do you know how much laundry I have to fold after this podcast? It's not even fair. It's not funny.
It's funny.
I got in trouble last week because I decided to sit down and play games over fold the laundry.
But that's why I said a lot of it is education and working together as a community to self-govern.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all know better than anybody else because we're all part of this.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Jake, that was a great topic, man. You first sent it to me, and I was like, man, I don't know if we could pull that into a full topic, but like that, we got our money's worth and then some. So, very well done. That was awesome, and thank you to everybody that wrote in. Thank you to everybody that is watching the stream live. If you guys are out there in hearing this episode, we do this live on Tuesday nights, about 7:30 Central Standard Time. You can go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/The Gaming Outsider. You can join along, have your comments. You can come join in the live chat here. It's a lot of fun. Next week's topic is going to be community questions. Every first episode of the month, we ask you guys for video game related questions that we answer on the show. It's always a great time. But that is going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Thanks so much for listening. This one was produced by Kevin Honigford. All the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website, as always, is stemagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. CB, any parting words or recommendations for our listeners?
My addictive personality. I started 2 new projects this week.
Oh, great. What are they?
I started my garden this week, growing
Okay.
stuff indoors. So there's that. I bought a saltwater fish tank.
Oh my God.
He's doing the
That's your
hydroponics.
recommendation is to get two more hobbies?
No. This is my not recommendation. Simplify your life. Don't be like me.
Oh, I see. Do as I do,
Um,
not as I or do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. Well, no. I'm trying to be the poster child of like this. This is what happens when you do too much.
All right. Jake, what about you?
So my addiction keeps me from doing absolutely all other things other than play video games. If I'm not playing games, I'm probably either doing something that absolutely needs to be done, or I'm wasting time somewhere else. But yeah, if I don't have a game, if I don't have a controller in my hand, I'm probably not doing something I want to be doing. So I don't have recommendations ever because I don't do a lot of other things.
Play racquetball. Get into fights with lawyers at the YMCA.
So so there is an incident that is happening at the racquetball courts where somebody is renting the racquetball courts to not play racquetball, and it is interfering with other people's lives. And we had some words to say to the people who were at the Y about who can be in the racquetball courts and whatever. And so Mindy told me to rent out all 3 basketball courts and build Legos in the middle of the second one.
Oh, dude, I'm in. Let's go.
So
I'm all for being a troll.
there may be this yeah, there may be this episode where we're all trolling.
Yeah.
Dude, we could record an episode inside the racquetball court.
We'll record an episode in the
Oh, we just set up a table and just I don't want to block up the racquetball court. Because nobody was going to mess with the basketball courts. Nobody will mess with that, but it's okay to mess with racquetball. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. My recommendation.
Wait, is there 3 basketball courts?
Yeah,
there's like 4 or 5.
Like 6.
Oh, because
if
there's 3, we could each run out, and then we could set up our own individual recording station on the center of each one.
Yeah, dude.
Hi, this is James Gunnison reporting from the second basketball court.
Number 1.
I didn't mean to get us all fired up about drama at the YMCA, but oh my God, I went to bed so angry last night.
Young man.
Yeah. I see where you're going with this.
You don't have to feel down.
I want to echo. Actually, I feel like I'm going to speak more highly on this than CB did. I watched, based on his recommendation, that movie, The Gorge, on Apple TV. I freaking like that movie a lot. My wife and I both really enjoyed that one.
I told you it's a fun watch, but it's so predictable. You can't tell me that you couldn't predict how that was going to end.
The only reason I found it was predictable was because I watched the trailer. The trailer gives that movie away, and then some.
So don't watch the trailer.
Well, that's how I learned about the movie.
But you can watch that movie and like legitimately every scene that's coming up next, you're like, I bet this is going to happen. I bet this is like, it's so utterly formulaic that like that's what, have an original thought, Hollywood. Stop copying yourself.
I enjoyed it. I had another movie to recommend and I can't remember it. So we're going to wrap things up. Thank you, CB. Thank you, Jake.
And for our listeners on YouTube, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a review. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Chris Behrensmeyer and Jacob Gunnarsson, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there is no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.
Racquetball.